Chapter 298. Everyone was stunned by the Han family young master's words. A few of them even asked in surprise, "What?" "Nothing, nothing." Unsworn Sword answered first. "Let's bring our brothers around for a bit. Let's wait for our brothers from the child elite group to check things out first." The Han family young master smiled as he watched the other mercenary group leaders get up and disperse. Unsworn Sword hurriedly went up to the Han family young master and said, "About the deposit, let's talk about it in private, brother." "I'm sorry, I forgot." The Han family young master continued to smile. Every mercenary group and reigning the Four Seas negotiated different prices, especially the child elite group. Under the terrible negotiations of the Han family young master, they achieved a series of extremely unequal terms. Unsworn Sword took into consideration that the child elite group were all experts, and that there were only 6 of them, so he reluctantly agreed. However, if this condition was exposed, all the other mercenary groups would do the same. No matter how rich reigning the Four Seas was, they would not be able to afford it. That was why when the Han family young master raised the deposit in front of everyone, Unsworn Sword was scared out of his wits. Not to mention the amount of the deposit, there were many ordinary mercenary groups that did not have the custom of paying extra for tasks. Fortunately, the players did not pay too much attention to it, and Unsworn Sword finally left after a few words. Leaving the Han family young master alone, the two sides quickly negotiated the price in private. After exiting the forest, reigning the Four Seas and the other mercenary groups were already strolling around, as if they were on a vacation. Only Gu Fei and the other 4 noticed that the Han family young master did not come out with the other mercenary group leaders. They guessed that something bad was going to happen, so they stood at the edge of the forest and waited. When they saw him come out, they immediately looked over with questioning gazes. The Han family young master acted like a boss, and waved at the 5 of them. The 5 of them looked away in unison, pretending that they did not know this person. "Come here, come here." The Han family young master waved at the 5 of them. The 5 of them staggered forward and surrounded him. "It's none of your business," the Han family young master first said to the other 4 people except Gu Fei. "Fuck." The 4 of them cursed in unison. "You." Han family young master turned to Gu Fei and said, "Go and find the werewolf." "Where am I supposed to find it?" Gu Fei was dumbfounded. "Didn't you say north of the village? Let's go take a look. If not, we'll continue our journey," Han family young master said. Everyone listened and looked at the Han family young master. "After such a long time, you came up with such a lousy task. You don't have to work hard and you can make money. Why don't you get me a job like this?" said the Han family young master. "Why me?" Gu Fei asked. "We don't know any werewolves." "Haha." The Han family young master shrugged. "Bah." Gu Fei spat on the ground, and resentfully turned around to leave. "Hey, I'll go with you. Brother, you suddenly caught up." Information. Brother, you explained. "This, if the situation is bad and I have to run, what will brother you do?" Gu Fei hesitated. "No problem, you go and negotiate with the werewolf. I'll just observe from afar." "Brother, you had already planned it out." Gu Fei was also helpless. The 2 of them went on the road and headed north. Unsworn Sword had entrusted this mission to the child elite group. Of course, he had been paying attention to the 6 of them. Seeing that only 2 of them went on the road, he was unhappy. This was because the deposit was paid for 6 people. No matter if it was an expert elite group or the trashiest mercenary group, the number of people was an important factor when it came to paying. This was an undeniable fact. Only 2 people were sent to do the job, but they were charged for 6 people. This was too unfair. Unsworn Sword felt indignant, and immediately went over to the Han family young master. "Leader Han, are you busy?" Bang! The Han family young master just happened to open a bottle of wine, giving Unsworn Sword a fright. He then said, "Don't worry, we'll definitely complete the mission you gave us." "Yeah, I saw it. Brother Qianli, and brother, you seem to have set off." Unsworn Sword emphasized the word 10 times more. "Yeah, I'll send them to scout ahead. The 4 of us will go to the left and right to take a look. Get up, let's go." The Han family young master kicked the other 3 who were sitting on the ground. Just looking at the three of them sitting on the ground, it didn't look like they were preparing to set off. But with a hint from the Han family young master, the three of them immediately got up. Yutian Shunming even cleared his throat. Guild leader Unsworn, don't worry. With me here, they definitely won't dare to slack off. Yutian Shunming acted like he was a member of reigning 4 Seas, and stood on the guild side. But even a blind person would know which side he was on. Guild leader Unsworn, we're going to cut in from this side of the forest. Then, we'll circle around and come out from the other side of the forest. This way, we'll be able to scout everything within a few hundred meters. That should be fine, right? The Han family young master said. Unsworn Sword wanted to say something, but the Han family young master already said, if we find anything special, I'll inform you immediately. There won't be any extra charges. Okay, let's go. With that, the 4 of them left Unsworn Sword there, and went into the forest to scout. Unsworn Sword opened his mouth, but he couldn't find the chance to say the words he wanted to say. He really wanted to know. If the werewolves were moving around a few hundred meters away from their path, what did that have to do with them? Not to mention the fact that the Han family young master was slacking off after leading the 3 of them into the forest. Gu Fei and brother, you were both very serious and responsible. As they walked on the main road, they kept looking around. As they walked, Gu Fei asked brother Yu for advice. Brother Yu, say these werewolves are no longer the villagers' werewolves from my previous quest. They've turned into combat NPCs. Will they still recognize me? That it's hard to say. Brother Yu hesitated. Logically speaking, these werewolves are still part of the quest NPC system, so they should recognize you. But the problem is that they appeared in 2 different quest scenarios. Whether or not they recognize you in this quest, I can't say for sure. The NPCs in the parallel world were divided into 2 categories by the players. The first category was combat NPCs. They were the pitiful little monsters that were killed repeatedly in the leveling area. These little monsters could be said to be combat machines that only knew how to kill. They wouldn't have any kind of intelligence like communication between humans or not. Apart from this category, there were quest NPCs. Generally, these were the NPCs that were bragged about by online game companies as intelligent NPCs. They would recognize the player's voice, expression, behavior, and so on, and communicate with the player like a human. But even for them, the content that they could communicate with was something that had been predetermined beforehand. For example, if you randomly met an NPC on the street and asked, "What's your mother's surname?" If the NPC triggered a quest that was related to his mother, he might really answer you. But if it was a lonely NPC with no family background, the NPC would just pretend that you didn't exist if you asked such a question. So, even though they were called intelligent, they were still machines that had been programmed. That was why brother you couldn't be sure if these werewolf villagers were only acquainted with Gu Fei in the quest environment. You can't say for sure either. Gu Fei said regretfully. If brother you couldn't answer, then there was naturally no one who could be more authoritative. Just as he was thinking, a system notification rang out. This was just a notification for friends to go online and go offline. Normally, he wouldn't pay too much attention to it. Now that he was bored while walking, Gu Fei casually opened his friends list and looked at it. He was immediately overjoyed. Comrade Lei Feng, you really come when I need you. Gu Fei hurriedly sent a message to the person who had just come online. Hi. What is it? The other party's reply seemed to be full of caution. Long time no see. Gu Fei said. What do you want again? The other party's vigilance didn't lessen. Oh, I'm asking you. Gu Fei went straight to the point. I met a group of NPCs in a certain quest. So if this group of NPCs were in another quest, would they still recognize me? Of course. Our quest NPCs completely simulate the interaction between people. They exist in the game like a living person. The quest events that happened around them, as long as they have happened before, are like a memory. How could such a ridiculous thing happen if they were to lose their memories after changing a quest? Is that so? Then what about the quest NPCs I killed in the quest? They will still come back to life. Do they recognize me or not? Gu Fei arrived at Adrian's nocturnal village. When he was leaving the village, he passed by the church and Adrian's big house. He saw Adrian busy at the door. Of course they don't recognize you. Although he looks like he has the same name as the previous NPC and carries the same mission, in reality, he's already a different person. It's like the same job. The original person passed away, and a new person came in to do the same job. Oh, I see. Alright, got it. Gu Fei said. What do you want to know? I just asked. Now I know. Thanks. Gu Fei closed the message window. Is this question very complicated? Do you still need to ask me? Hongchen Yixiao muttered to himself. Did I accidentally sell him some important information again? Hongchen Yixiao was indeed overthinking this time. This time he didn't give Gu Fei much guidance. He only strengthened Gu Fei's confidence. He also guessed that this was the case in the game. Brother Yu was the same. It was just that he didn't have first-hand information as evidence, so he didn't dare to believe it. Now that he had the confirmation from the designer, what else was there to doubt? Gu Fei could conclude that this group of werewolf villagers knew him. Moreover, they definitely wouldn't have any hostility towards him. He was their great benefactor. Thinking of this, Gu Fei straightened his back and shouted at the top of his lungs. Weeha, where are you? Come out quickly. You're crazy. Brother Yu was shocked. Don't worry. Gu Fei patted Brother Yu. Just as he finished shouting, a figure appeared from behind an old tree in the distance. The wolf's ears really lived up to its name. Chapter 299. The wolf's ears were really sharp. It could hear Gu Fei's shout from hundreds of meters away. The wolf's voice was also very loud. The tall werewolf came out from behind the tree and howled. Countless silhouettes flashed across the horizon. They stood in their wolf forms and rushed towards Gu Fei and Brother Yu at lightning speed. Brother Yu's face had long since turned pale. He said with a trembling voice, Hey, are you okay? Gu Fei was a bit shocked when he saw this aura. There was no doubt about Hongchen Yixiao's intelligence. The werewolves in Luminous Village definitely knew him. However, the problem was that there was no relationship between knowing him and attacking him. He and Silvermoon could be considered to know each other, but Gu Fei wouldn't hesitate to kill Silvermoon. Although he was indebted to the werewolves, it was hard to say whether or not the werewolves were humane. Thinking about this, Gu Fei wanted to retreat. Brother Yu's face became even uglier. Hey, you're not thinking of running away, are you? With the current distance, Gu Fei might be able to escape if he ran and teleported, but Brother Yu would definitely die. Gu Fei thought that he couldn't be so disloyal, so he continued to be calm. Of course, if we're going to die, of course we'll die together. Brother Yu didn't think that Gu Fei would be so calm. In the end, the only thing he could say was death. He was instantly disheartened. The speed of the werewolves' advance was incomparable to any current player team. In the blink of an eye, they had already surrounded the two. Gu Fei watched the tall werewolf approach from afar. However, Gu Fei didn't know if it was the werewolf leader Weeha. The one that Gu Fei knew was Weeha in human form. Now that he had become a werewolf, he looked like a pack of wolves in the eyes of normal people. They all looked the same. The tall werewolf walked towards Gu Fei step by step. Gu Fei nervously held the sword in his hand, but he watched as the werewolf's body shrank and deformed as he walked. By the time it reached Gu Fei, it had transformed into a human form, but it was still taller than Gu Fei. It was indeed the leader of the werewolves. Gu Fei heaved a sigh of relief. If the werewolves were hostile, there was no need for them to return to their human forms. Although he was just an NPC, this kind of deduction was still useful. As expected, there was no hostility in Prestige's eyes when he looked at Gu Fei. Instead, he greeted him in a very friendly manner. Warrior. What are you doing here? Gu Fei asked. This might seem like a simple greeting between friends, but it was an important command when communicating with an NPC. According to the incomplete statistics of the players, there were two commonly used phrases when communicating with NPCs and triggering quests. The first one was, "What are you doing?" And the second one was usually followed by, "What do you need me to do?" Usually, after hearing the first sentence, the NPC would start to ramble on about the introduction of the quest. This time was no exception. After hearing Gu Fei's question, the group of werewolves around him revealed their true colors one by one. They wiped away their tears, and Prestige began to narrate sadly. The goal of the werewolves was to intercept the Unhindered World quest, but the cause was because they were threatened. This group of werewolves hoped to live a simple life like humans, but this was their fatal weakness. This time, someone had obtained this information, so they secretly threatened the werewolves to stop the escort team, or else they would reveal their identities to the public. Although these werewolves were not as cruel as normal werewolves, their natural identity as werewolves gave them the same fighting ability as werewolves. When they exploded, their strength was definitely not to be underestimated. Unfortunately, they had such a major weakness, and they had too much potential to be used. Gu Fei sighed, and then threw out the second phrase of triggering the quest. What can I do for you? Prestige looked dumbfounded. If we know this person's identity, everything will be easy to solve. The person Prestige was talking about was, of course, the one who had threatened them. Gu Fei was puzzled. You didn't see him? We only received this letter. Prestige handed Gu Fei a note. Gu Fei took it. On it was written, "Take care of Todd, or else you and your people will be in trouble." Afraid that it wasn't clear enough, there was also a small picture attached, depicting a group of humans hunting a wolf. The surrounding werewolves could see the small picture on the letter in Gu Fei's hand, and a look of fear appeared on their faces. Gu Fei, on the other hand, had no interest in the artwork. He asked doubtfully, "Todd?" "Brother," you reminded him hurriedly. "The person Unhindered World took out from prison." Silencing him, Gu Fei sighed. Outsiders didn't know about Todd's plot, but the child elite group had Yutian Shinming, a member of Unhindered World. When Todd was taken out from prison, all the members of Unhindered World had received the relevant plot and notification. Yutian Shinming had already broadcasted it to them in the mercenary channel, and all 5 of them knew that Todd was a corrupt person. Gu Fei waved the note and said to Prestige, "You don't have to worry about this. I'll think of a way to help you solve it." Prestige was overjoyed. That's great. Last time he still didn't trust Gu Fei, but it was clear that the matter had been solved, and they had strong confidence in Gu Fei. Gu Fei suddenly remembered that the night streamer had been given to him by the werewolf after the last mission. If he dealt with the matter this time, would he receive a similar reward? Probably not. Brother, you gave a simple analysis. It's not the same mission. Even if it's the same NPC, the reward won't be the same. Oh, speaking of which, there's nothing in the mission list. Gu Fei said. Hidden mission? Brother, you said. Hidden mission? If the mission isn't announced, then we don't even know if it's triggered or not. Gu Fei said. That's why it's a hidden mission. Brother, you said. Hey, are you serious? While the two were talking, they had already comforted the werewolves and let them rest. However, the werewolves also told Gu Fei that they would keep an eye on Todd's movements. If he left their range of control, they would immediately take action. This meant that Gu Fei and Brother Yu's plan of tricking the werewolves into not taking action and swaggering away wouldn't work. Looks like the system isn't that stupid. Brother Yu laughed. Gu Fei nodded. But speaking of which, this is more like a mission. It's just that fighting and killing all the way down is too monotonous. It's not like the so-called multitasking style of the parallel world. Brother Yu sighed. Yeah, I doubt it. There might be other ways to solve the broken road in the middle of Black Dragon Mountain Range. For example, we could find an NPC in Cloud City to help us build a bridge. It's just that this group quest isn't like normal solo quests where there are hints for every step, so everyone ignored it. Brother Yu said. Then how do we solve this? Gu Fei waved the small piece of paper at Brother Yu. Let's talk about it when we get back. Brother Yu said. The two talked as they returned to the encampment of the main army. Nearly 1,000 players were scattered all over the ground. Unsworn Sword and a few core members of Reigning the Seas who were concerned about their quest had been stretching their necks out in anticipation. When they saw the figures of Gu Fei and Brother Yu returning, they were already standing on the road waiting for them. Gu Fei showed the piece of paper to Unsworn Sword and told him the whole story. This was the quality a mercenary should have. When someone was hired to do something, of course they had to report the situation to their employer. This wasn't a problem of attitude in the game, but a problem of character. Gu Fei was quite kind in this aspect. Oh, I see. Unsworn Sword held the small piece of paper and looked at it again and again. He said to Gu Fei, "Brother Qianli, you've worked hard. Take a rest first. Let's discuss what we should do." Oh, Gu Fei didn't say anything and silently left. As a result, Unsworn Sword, Reflection of Years and Windwalk, the two core members, found a corner and began a heated debate. Let's not talk about how to solve this matter first. Whether or not Gu Fei's information was trustworthy became the focus of the debate. Gu Fei was indeed a kind and well-behaved mercenary, but even though he was kind, it was inevitable that others would measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. For example, Reflection Years had a huge prejudice against Gu Fei. He felt that there must be something fishy going on. Just this piece of paper? If you need, I'll draw 100 for you. Reflection Years said. This handwriting doesn't look like it's his, Windwalking said. How do you know? The other two raised their heads. Ugh, this, that, ah. Windwalking stammered. Reflection Years didn't have the patience to ask about this and immediately said, "Let's not talk about anything else." He said he knew these werewolves, so the werewolves didn't make things difficult for him, and asked him about the key point. Think about it. This is Moonlit City's territory, and we're players from Cloud City. Theoretically, no one should know the werewolves here. Why would the system give us a quest, and place the key to solving this quest on knowing the werewolves? If no one knows these werewolves, or if we don't have this Qianli drunk with us, how can we complete this quest? How can this be? Makes sense. Unsworn Sword nodded. Then why did he make this up? Windwalking held the small piece of paper and looked at it repeatedly. I don't know. Who knows what this guy is trying to do, Reflection Years said. Trap? What trap? Against us? It can't be, right? Do we have a grudge against him? Unsworn Sword was surprised. Even though they had plans to deal with Qianli drunk and his mercenary group, it was just a plan. They didn't take any action. No one from the Gongzi elite group should have any hatred towards reigning the world. Anyway, I don't think we can trust him easily, Reflection Years said. Then what do we do? Didn't he say the werewolves are just ahead? Let's go get a few of our brothers to contact the werewolves, Reflection Years said. Chapter 300. As the core of reigning the Four Seas, of course, he was more concerned about this mission than anyone else. After the discussion, the Reflection of Years immediately picked a few members with excellent speed and rushed forward with him. The few of them were indeed people with outstanding speed. They left quickly and returned quickly as well. However, there were 4 of them when they left, but only 2 came back. The Reflection of Years' face turned pale. Sword Without Oath hurriedly asked, "What's going on?" "I saw the werewolves," the Reflection of Years said. "But they said they only trust Qianli drunk." Unsworn Sword was dumbfounded. "There's really such a thing? How is that possible? If we didn't invite him for this mission, we wouldn't have completed it?" The Reflection of Years did not say anything. This doubt was the reason why he strongly refuted Gu Fei's words just now. "Where are Little C and Little Ha?" Sword Without Oath asked. For had gone, and the other 2 were nowhere to be seen. "They died," the Reflection of Years said. "What happened?" Sword Without Oath was shocked. The werewolves attacked them as soon as they met. They were killed on the spot. Fortunately, I shouted in time that we came to help them, and the werewolves let us go. The Reflection of Years still had a lingering fear in his heart. The player who escaped with him also had a dull look in his eyes, and his body was trembling slightly. It seemed that the werewolves had really shocked them. "I'm thinking," Time's Reflection finally spoke. "It's still impossible for someone who isn't from our guild to become the key to our quest. Qianli drunk was just a coincidence. It just so happened that he had experienced a mission related to these werewolves. We must have a way to win the werewolves' trust. We just need to find it." "It seems that we don't need to do that. We just need to do what Qianli drunk said before, find the guy who threatened the werewolves and kill him. Not only will we win the werewolves' trust, but the current crisis will also be resolved," Feng Xing said. "I'm just afraid that this mission was triggered by Qianli drunk. If we do this, won't we be missing some clues?" The Reflection of Years said. Or he will deliberately hide some important clues and use it to blackmail us again. It's highly possible. Unsworn Sword waved his fist. He recalled the bewitching smile of the leader of the child elite group. Ever since they had invited the child elite group, they had been ruthlessly extorted. Werewolves only trust Qianli Drunkard. You can't say this even if you're beaten to death. Unsworn Sword hurriedly warned. If the Han family young master were to hear about this, he would definitely smash his head until it bled. So what should we do now? Asked Fengxing. Everyone was at a loss. Even though they had decided to help the werewolves ferret out the mastermind, it was still quite a headache to know where to start. Seems like it'll be a little difficult to get on the road today. Time's reflection sighed. In a situation where they had no clues, they could only use the most primitive method. Repeatedly talking to the NPC until the NPC ran out of new words. In the end, this was what Reigning the Four Seas did. All of the guild members rushed back to Luminous Village, forming groups of 3 to 5, and gathered around a villager to talk to them. The mercenary group players did not want to wait in the same place. Some of the kind-hearted went to help, while the bored ones ran around to see if there were any monsters to fight. In an instant, the surroundings of Luminous Village were filled with the figures of Cloud City players. Meanwhile, the 3 core members of Unsworn Sword had returned to Moonlit Night City and arrived at the mercenary building. They believed that since Qianli Drunkard had come into contact with the werewolves in Luminous Village, then the players in Moonlit Night City must have come into contact with even more. Rather than letting Qianli Drunkard become the only one and giving the Han family young master the opportunity to blackmail him, it was better to find a temporary mercenary group from Moonlit Night City. Unfortunately, the quest that Gu Fei completed was a high-level chain quest. The main NPC in the quest was a level 70 werewolf. It was clear that this quest was not something that could be triggered by current players. Even if it was triggered, they would not be able to complete it. The fact that half of the villagers in Luminous Village were werewolves was not known to the players in Moonlit Night City. Unsworn Sword and the others sent out a mercenary recruitment notice, but no one answered. The players who asked around in Luminous Village did not find anything either. The villagers' description of the werewolves was actually the plot of the quest that Gu Fei had completed. A villager was killed by a werewolf, and a passing warrior found out the truth and helped the villager walk out of the shadow of the werewolves. Although the players directly said that half of the villagers were werewolves, it did not cause any ripples among the villagers. After all, this was a game, and there were hard system settings. If these words were said by Gu Fei, who had done related quests before, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. However, these were normal players. Just because they had heard Gu Fei's description, these NPCs would only think that they were talking nonsense. In other words, when Gu Fei said that half of the villagers were werewolves, this might be an order that could trigger some plot changes. To other players, this was nonsense. The 5 people from the child elite group did not participate in this activity. At this time, they were sitting in a small hotel in Luminous Village, watching everything with cold eyes. Brother, you returned to the hotel after going out for a long time. He looked at the 5 people and shook his head. This method doesn't seem to be able to find out anything. Or maybe there's no other way. This quest was triggered by Qianli. Maybe Qianli will have to ask the NPCs to provide any information. Sword Demon said. Should I try? Gu Fei said. You can go, but if you really get any clues, don't be in a hurry to deal with it. Han family young master said. That's too bad. Gu Fei shook his head and left. He obviously understood Han family young master's thoughts. If this quest could only be solved by Gu Fei, then Unsworn Sword would have to spend a lot of money again. After leaving the hotel, Gu Fei went straight to the Luminous Village chief's house. With his understanding of the village, the villagers would say ask the village chief. So if there was anything important to know, the village chief would be the first choice. Unfortunately, Gu Fei wasn't the only one who received this kind of notification. The players who had wandered around the village for so long had all heard from the ordinary villagers that the village chief knows more. At this moment, the village chief's house had 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside. The players were so packed that not even a drop of water could trickle through. It was as if they were having a meet and greet with their idol, the village chief. Was this necessary? Gu Fei was dumbfounded. Everyone just had to choose one person to go up and talk to the village chief. What was there to fight over? This was Gu Fei's fault for being too unmotivated. Just like their young noble elite group, all guilds and mercenary groups would use a point system when it came to distributing equipment, money, or any other benefits. For example, in a group mission like this, it was an important opportunity to earn points. No one wanted to miss this opportunity, which was why there was such competition. Gu Fei was blocked outside the crowd, but that wasn't all. Suddenly, 2 players from Reigning the World noticed Gu Fei standing outside the crowd and took the initiative to greet him. My apologies, Brother Qianli. Our guild leader has said that you've worked hard enough for this quest, so there's no need for you to worry about it. Gu Fei didn't say anything. With an "oh," he retreated. In his heart he snickered. The Han clan's young master had long seen through his intention to extort money from him, and didn't even let him participate. Of course, Reigning the World's words couldn't restrict Gu Fei's actions, but the meaning behind it was, I didn't invite you this time, so help me if you want, and I won't pay you. Gu Fei didn't really care about money, he just couldn't stay idle. But seeing how busy the village chief's house was, Gu Fei didn't know when it would be his turn, so he turned around and left. When he returned to the hotel, the 5 people were surprised. So fast. What did you find out? Nothing, said Gu Fei. Reigning the World said he didn't need me to interfere. Everyone looked at the Han family young master. How many people have you extorted? They're all guarding against you like thieves. They'd rather work themselves than give up such a convenient opportunity. The Han family young master also muttered. It's not a lot, but it does seem a bit too frequent. But you can't blame me. It's because we're too outstanding. The Han family young master's narcissism finally brought everyone along, so he didn't attract any disgust. Everyone nodded. Yes, we're too outstanding. Sort of no oath. The more he doesn't want us to extort him, the more I want to extort him. The Han family young master rubbed his hands. Extort him, extort him. Yutian Shenming didn't hesitate to betray his guild leader when he saw that there was a profit to be made. Qianli, who do you think is behind this? Asked the Han family young master. How would I know? Said Gu Fei. Who was the final boss of your last mission? Asked the Han family young master. Adrian. Gu Fei paused after saying that. Could it be this guy again? What's the situation? Everyone asked. I specifically asked around today. The previous Adrian was killed by me during my mission. So this guy, although he's also called Adrian and has the same identity in the village, he's actually a new NPC. But Gu Fei recalled Hongchen Yixiao's words. The new NPC has the same mission and is doing the same job as the previous NPC. What do you mean? The others didn't understand. The previous Adrian was a bad character, so the new Adrian wouldn't abandon his evil ways and become a good one. He's probably still doing the job of using the werewolves. Analyzed the Han family young master. Gu Fei nodded. I think so too. Let's go find him. Yutian Shenming was excited. The 6 of them stood up. Brother, you moved to Gu Fei's side. Where did you hear about this? It's not convenient to say, said Gu Fei as he glanced at Hongchen Yixiao in his friends list. Brother, if this mission really falls on Adrian again, then you've helped me a lot. Butterfly knot. It's already 300 chapters. It's already 300 chapters by accident. Close combat is actually so long? Chapter 301. Gu Fei led the 5 of them to the vicinity of Adrian's house. As they approached, they saw a familiar and busy figure in the backyard of the house. Little Rain! Gu Fei yelled. June Rain turned around and saw Gu Fei's group. She waved at them and said, I'm here. The few of them gathered around the girl and surrounded her. What are you doing? They asked. Gu Fei saw the cellar lid by June Rain's feet and laughed. You haven't given up yet? June Rain stepped on the lid and said, That's weird. It's not locked. Why can't I open it? The group of 5 squatted down to study it. Gu Fei laughed and said, It's a game. If the system says it can't be opened, then of course it can't be opened. Does it need a reason? He wondered why their IQ had dropped to Little Rain's level. Brother Yu turned around and looked at Gu Fei seriously. No, the parallel world game is very detailed. If it's a door that can't be opened, there must be a reason. The group of 5 continued to study it. Maybe it's because it's heavy. Yutian Shenming said after pulling the lid. Let me try. Unscathed in battle walked up. Junrain looked at him expectantly. Gu Fei was speechless. Junrain was an all-out warrior. Unscathed in battle was an experienced warrior. Of course, he wouldn't use such an extreme method. Even though he was big and burly, he was no match for Junrain in arm wrestling. If Junrain couldn't open the door, what use was he? As expected, Unscathed in battle held his breath for a long time and concluded, "It's either too heavy or I can't open it." Uft. Gu Fei snorted. Brother Yu carefully checked the gap between the cellar lid and the floor, but he did not find anything. In the end he mumbled, "Is there some kind of magic that can't be opened with mortal power, so special spells or items are needed?" This Adrian is indeed not an ordinary person. Everyone's body trembled as they looked at Adrian's mansion with bright eyes. "Adrian isn't home right now," Junrain interrupted. "Oh," said Gu Fei. "No wonder you've come to the backyard to look through it." "Hee, long time no see," Junrain said with a smile. "Chance." Yutian Shenming slapped his leg and said, "Adrian isn't home. Let's go in and search. Maybe the item or scroll is at home." "Yeah." Unscathed in battle was about to go. "I say," Gu Fei spoke up. "We're here to look for Adrian. We're not here to open this cellar, are we? We're here to find Adrian. Don't tell me we're here to open the cellar lid?" Then with a serious face he asked Junrain, "Ahem, do you know where Adrian has gone?" Junrain shook her head. But Yutian Shenming's words had enlightened her. She really wanted to open the cellar lid. Thinking of Junrain, she wanted to break in and search for something. At this time Han family young master finally said, "I know where Adrian is." "How do you know? Where is he?" Everyone looked at him. Han family young master stepped on the cellar lid. "What do you mean?" Just as he finished speaking, the lid of the cellar suddenly opened with a squeak. The few of them quickly retreated in shock. Then they saw a person holding a candle in one hand and supporting himself on the ground with the other, crawling out of the cellar. Han family young master looked at the experts in front of him. The door can't be opened, and there's no lock. The biggest possibility is that he's been killed from the inside. All the experts lowered their heads in shame, especially Brother Yu. Just now he was talking about magic locking the door. It seemed that sometimes, knowing too much wasn't a good thing. "Ahem. Is that Adrian?" Brother Yu asked Gu Fei as he pointed at the person who had crawled out. "Yeah, he looks the same." When Adrian crawled out of the cellar to find himself surrounded by a group of people, he reacted as an NPC would, yelling at them with a sharp voice. "Who are you people? What are you doing in my house?" No one paid attention to him. He was just a broken robot. Who would care about his attitude? Only a fantasy quest maniac like Junrain would care. Unfortunately, Junrain wasn't here. She had just smashed Adrian's door and rushed in to rummage through the chests and cabinets. To be honest, this was the standard gameplay of RPG games. "What do we do? Do we take him down now?" Brother Yu said. "No way. Just take him down and tell the werewolves that he's been taken care of. Is that okay?" Gu Fei said. "I don't think so. We should at least show some evidence, right?" Sword Demon said. "How do we prove that this person is the mastermind behind the werewolves?" Everyone looked up and down at Adrian. Adrian was still shouting, "Who are you people? Why did you come here?" He was ignored by the 6. "What nonsense are you talking about? If we can't find a way to expose this person's identity, can we do anything to him?" Han family young master said. "Yeah. Normal NPCs are protected by PK. Only when the conditions of the quest are met will the PK protection be removed," Brother Yu said. The 6 surrounded Adrian and looked like they were thinking. At this moment, Junrain crawled out of the house. She was crestfallen. "I didn't find anything that looked like a cellar." The few of them looked at each other for a moment, then suddenly rushed towards Adrian's mansion. Adrian yelled from behind, "What are you doing? You bunch of bandits." The bandits searched Adrian's house again in front of the person in question. Unfortunately, they didn't find anything that could reveal Adrian's identity. The people who came out of the house were all crestfallen like June rain. "You bunch of bandits." Adrian pointed at them angrily. "I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you." Adrian stumbled as he ran away. Won't it be a little troublesome? Brother Yu was the first to get nervous. Will they call the NPC guards? Yutian Shenming was the second. Who fought with the NPC guards before? Unscathed in battle asked. Everyone's eyes turned to Gu Fei. He was a PK maniac. If his PK value went over 20, he would be chased by the guards. Gu Fei shook his head. I was chased, but I didn't dare fight. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. If even Gu Fei didn't dare fight, then he must be very strong. Is he strong? Yutian Shenming asked with a trembling voice. I don't know, but there will be a lot of people. Gu Fei said. They looked at each other. It was quiet. Suddenly there was the sound of books being flipped. The few of them turned around and saw that young Master Han had just come out of the mansion. He was holding a tattered book in his hands and flipping through it nonstop. What is it? They surrounded him. A count book. Han family young master said. What did you find? They asked. Nothing, but there's Adrian's handwriting here. Han family young master said to them. They quickly reacted and looked at Gu Fei. What about the note? It was given to Sword of No Oath. Gu Fei was troubled. He really was a qualified mercenary. But do you guys know how to identify handwriting? Gu Fei asked. It's useless. The player's own talent shouldn't be enough to affect the game's plot. If this is a clue, then it must be handled by a skill in the game. For example, appraisal? Brother Yu said. Appraisal? Does appraisal have the ability to identify handwriting? They were confused. I'm just giving an example. Brother Yu said. Players might not be able to appraise it, but NPC appraisers might not be able to do so, young Master Han said. That makes sense. But the problem is that the note isn't in our hands right now. Ask Sword of No Oath. If we help him complete the quest, would he not give it to us? Unscathed in battle said. The Han clan's young master suddenly laughed. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. They avoided his smile. What did you think of? I thought of a way to get Sword of No Oath to give us the note. Han family young master said. Needless to say, it must be very cruel. The five shook their heads. Han family young master didn't say anything else. He just sent a message to Reflection of Years. We found a big clue. Damn. Reflection of Years treated this news as bad news. He said to Sword of No Oath with a sad face. Child Elite Group really got it first. Don't worry. Sword of No Oath was quite calm. This is our quest. We have the initiative. Even if he found a clue, I might not accept it. The quest has only just begun. Keep calm and negotiate with him. Thus, Reflected Years waited for a moment before calmly replying. Oh? What clue? We need that piece of paper. The Han family young master said. What do you want me to do? Time's Reflection replied slowly. In fact, as an honest mercenary, he should be honest with his employer about his findings. Unfortunately, morals were deteriorating day by day. Not only did mercenaries not do this, even the employers did not ask the mercenaries to do so. What should have been a pure transaction was full of deception and deception. Han family young master, who often took the opportunity to extort money, now showed the qualities of an honest mercenary. He told Reflection of Years that Adrian was a major suspect, and that he might be able to expose his despicable plot by bringing the note over. Reflection of Years and the others were skeptical, but it didn't cost anything to try. So they quickly took the note and rushed to Adrian's mansion in Luminous Village. But Adrian isn't here right now. Hearing Han family young master's plan, the others were confused. That's exactly what we want. Han family young master laughed. Chapter 302. The 6 members of Child Elite Group pulled Little Rain along with them and hid in a dilapidated church courtyard, peeking at Adrian's house from the top of the wall. It didn't take long before players from Unhindered rushed over from all directions and surrounded the mansion. In the end, the 3 core members, Unsworn Sword, Reflection of Years, and Wind Walking, arrived and directed the guild players to set up another formation. The innocent June Rain was very confused. Adrian isn't here right now. What are they going to do? It was too difficult for June Rain to understand the thoughts of the Han family young master, so the 6 of them remained silent. Only Brother Yu was slightly anxious. It's been so long. Is Adrian coming back soon? Yeah, I heard he went to call the guards. What do you think he'll think if he comes back with the NPC guards and sees so many people surrounding his house? Han family young master said. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Isn't this a bit too much? No, it's very interesting. Han family young master held onto the wall with one arm and took out a bottle of wine with the other, as if he was going to enjoy the pitiful experience of reigning 4 seas. Now that crisscrossing had surrounded Unsworn Swordsman took a deep breath and held the slip of paper in his hand. He knocked on the door 3 times, and with lightning speed, he darted back to the formation. His movements were so agile that it made people wonder if he was even a warrior. Of course, no one answered in the empty house. After a long time of intense concentration, they began to look at each other. Unsworn Sword walked up again and knocked on the door. This time he didn't rush to escape, but instead listened to the movements in the house. Reflection of Years and Wind Walking also followed. The 3 of them neatly leaned on the door and pressed their ears against it. Then, the 3 of them shook their heads. Let's go in and take a look. The 3 of them exchanged glances and entered the house. TSK. The 6 peeping players all sighed in unison. What are they doing? Are they here to steal the gold? It was June Rain's turn to be nervous. No, they're here to find someone. Gu Fei comforted her. The June Rain relaxed at once. Pure people were easy to get rid of. Sworn Sword's group of 3 entered Adrian's house and walked around. Naturally, they did not discover anything. They only felt that the house was a little messy, but they could not figure out what was going on. Thus they came out in a daze. Just as the 6 of them were snickering, they heard a hoarse voice coming from the periphery of the encirclement. Who are you people? When the 6 of them heard this sound, they subconsciously shrank their necks. Adrian had finally returned. Gu Fei sighed at the rain in June. Did you notice? Nothing about this resurrected Adrian has changed, but his voice is different. Resurrect. June Rain was confused. I'm fine. Gu Fei forced himself to calm down. A few of them craned their necks to continue peeping. Although she had thought that the Han family young master had gone overboard by setting up a trap for reigning 4 to fight Adrian's men, she was disappointed when she saw that Adrian was still alone. Brother Yu put away his notebook. I thought I'd have a chance to understand the strength of the NPC soldiers. Before Oathless Sword could give the order, reigning the 4 seas players had already surrounded Adrian. Unsworn Sword walked out from the crowd, waving the small piece of paper in his hand at Adrian. Adrian, we already know what you've done. Why don't you surrender? All the players were nervous, including the 6 from Child Elite group behind the wall. Sworn Sword was undoubtedly showing off his item to the NPC. Whether or not they could trigger the next part of the quest depended on this. Adrian ignored the note in Sworn Sword's hand and continued to point at the people around him. You bandits, what are you trying to do? Sworn Sword took 2 steps forward and held the note in front of Adrian's eyes. Look, it's this note. He had used all his tools, but Adrian still turned a deaf ear to him. Reigning 4 Seas was disappointed. It seemed that the item was ineffective. The Child Elite group, on the other hand, was relieved. If Reigning 4 Seas had exposed Adrian so easily, then all their efforts would have been in vain. Adrian was still surrounded. The 3 core members of Reigning 4 Seas began to discuss nervously again. Reflected Years called out to the Han family young master. I've used the note. It's useless. Really? That shouldn't be the case. Han family young master put on an act. Are you sure it's this guy? Reflected Years asked. Of course. Han family young master replied. The 3 continued to discuss nervously. Do you have any proof? Reflected Years asked. Isn't the note proof? Han family young master said. But he didn't admit it. Reflected Years said. Think of a way to force him to admit it. Han family young master suggested. Reflected Years slapped himself on the head. He immediately thought of a way to verify the handwriting. Together with Unsworn Sword and Wind Star, they entered Adrian's house and ransacked it. Bandits. You bunch of bandits. You won't have a good ending. Adrian continued to play his role. He was flustered and exasperated. Han family young master reached into his pocket and touched Adrian's account book. He was contentedly waiting for the good news from Reflected Years and the others. There shouldn't be any other handwriting in the house, right? Brother Yu was worried. No. Han family young master replied with certainty. That's terrible. The others sighed. This was basically forcing reigning forces to compromise with them. The three searched Adrian's house again, but of course they didn't find anything. Left with no other choice, the three of them grabbed a pen and paper, and fiercely demanded that Adrian copy the note again on the spot. Such a trashy and direct method was simply bullying the NPC's inflexible intelligence. Unfortunately, Adrian had a heavy responsibility and seemed to be slightly smarter than the average NPC. He completely ignored the players' demands. Unsworn Sword and the others wanted to beat him up, but the rules of PK protection couldn't be broken. At this critical moment, Han family young master coldly asked, "How is it going?" Still thinking of a way. Reflected Years replied, "Maybe we should let our group's Qianli get drunk. After all, he was the one who accepted the quest." Han family young master said. His words were filled with game knowledge. Unsworn Sword's note was ineffective against Adrian. Perhaps it would work if Qianli got drunk. After all, he was the one who brought the quest and the note back. Moreover, Unsworn Sword and the others also knew something that even Gu Fei didn't know. The werewolf said that it only trusted him. Does this quest really have to rely on that guy? Unsworn Sword and the others were naturally depressed. Why don't we let him try first? Fengstar said. Have you found any way to win the werewolf's trust? Reflected Years asked the others. All the guild members shook their heads. Let him try. Reflected Years clenched his teeth, then called Han family young master, and asked him to call Gu Fei over quickly. Maybe it really is Qianli. Just take the slip of paper and show it to Adrian, and the quest will be over. Imperial Sky Shenming said. That shouldn't be the case. Brother Yu shook his head. This shouldn't happen in a quest in a parallel world. Qianli's identity is only special to the werewolf. For Adrian, it's no different from anyone else. So, Adrian shouldn't have any special attitude towards this. That makes sense. Let me ask around. Gu Fei was about to ask Hongchen Yixiao, but when he opened his friend list, he found that Hongchen Yixiao had gone offline. I didn't get anything. Let's continue, Gu Fei said. Brother Yu was curious about this guy who seemed to have more authority than him in the field of intelligence, but Gu Fei had already made it clear that he couldn't say anything. Actually, I don't know if identifying the handwriting will solve the problem. Unscathed in Battle said. Are you doubting my deduction? Han family young master squinted at him. Doubt everything, doubt everything. That's the spirit of denial, haha. Unscathed in Battle hurriedly laughed. What nonsense. Everyone looked at him with disdain. All right, I'll go first. Gu Fei stood up. Slow down. If you go so fast, it'll make it seem like we're spying on them nearby, Yutian Shenming said. Gu Fei looked at him speechlessly. We're hiding here to spy on them. That's why you have to hide. How can you call it spying if you're exposed? The others nodded. Let's go later. June Rain's eyes were filled with confusion. She couldn't quite understand what these people were talking about. They purposely waited for a long time. Han family young master was even urged by Reflected Years. Just as he was about to send Gu Fei on his way, the sound of chaotic footsteps came from outside. They immediately stretched their necks to look outside, and were immediately stunned. Dozens of people dressed in moonlit night city guard uniforms had arrived at this time. The players of Unhindered didn't know why this group of people had come. It was rare to see such a large group of NPCs moving together. A group of people pointed and looked curiously. Some even tried to talk to the NPCs. Brother Yu had already prepared his little notebook. Han family young master also nodded. I knew it. How could my judgment be wrong? Adrian. The NPC outside shouted. The players of Unhindered were stunned. Adrian shouted from within the crowd. Sir, I'm here. Quickly get rid of these bandits. Bandits? The players of Unhindered were still confused, but the NPC soldiers had already drawn their swords. The leader raised his longsword high and shouted, Charge, get ready! In an instant, a crimson light spread from his body, and a ring of light appeared beneath the feet of his companions. Holy shit, a battle formation skill. The peeping players were the first to get excited. Chapter 303. The NPCs used a battle formation skill that the players had never seen before. Under the command of the leading knight, the guards instantly lined up and began to charge. The players from Reigning the World were the most pitiful. They didn't expect the NPCs to attack them. Amidst the shouts of, What are bandits? Who are bandits? The guards were the first to charge at them, causing them to be thrown off their feet. Fuck, the players shouted. Unfortunately, they were facing a group of robots. They continued to stare blankly, while the NPCs continued to charge. The guards' bodies glowed with white light. One moment they were in the shape of a man, the next moment they were in the shape of a line. They charged left and right into the crowd of players. Quite a few players were sent flying into the air. The scene was chaotic and beautiful. Fiescatisk. The players from the Child Elite group sighed. Brother Yu recorded quickly in his notebook as he muttered. Too fierce. Too fierce. How tragic. Yutian Shenming closed his eyes, pretending to be compassionate. Isn't this a bit too much? The sword demon couldn't bear to watch. There's no other way. Who can stop them now? The Han family young master sighed. No, Gu Fei said. Even he was filled with a sense of powerlessness in front of this group of valiant guards. Whether it was the formation when they charged or the movements when they attacked. All the details were meticulously uniform. This was where humans couldn't be compared to machines. How long would it take for humans to train to this level of perfect teamwork and teamwork? In Kung Fu terms, when faced with such an opponent, there were no openings. Even though one could create openings if there were no openings, that still required a corresponding level of strength. No one knew what level these NPC guards were. Any one of them had the strength of a boss. Now that they were in a group, even the level 40 Gu Fei couldn't do anything. No matter how skilled they were, this was still an online game, wasn't it? The difference in levels, skills, and equipment couldn't be completely made up for with skills. Of course, the players of Reigning the World wouldn't allow themselves to be slaughtered by their opponents. Reflection of Years, who was usually in charge of the team battle, was shouting himself hoarse. Messages were flooding the guild channel, like they had been hit by a virus. The players from Reigning the Seas quickly formed a formation as they evaded their opponent's charge. Arrow formation, arrow formation. Time's Reflection roared. He was the one who researched and trained the 4 Seas arrow formation. And it was what he was most proud of. As expected of someone who can move unhindered through the 4 Seas. He does have some skill. The experts all praised. Under the cover of the warriors and other classes, the crisscrossing 4 Seas arrow formation was assembled, and the mages were ready to bombard. Shoot! Shoot! There was no time to wait. Seeing that the archers were almost ready, Reflected Years immediately gave the order. Arrows filled the sky and flew towards the vanguard of the guards. The first wave of shots caused the opponent to pause for a moment. Just as the players from Reigning the Seas saw a glimmer of hope, they heard the leader of the opposing team yell, "Protect the charge." Thus, the guards once again took out their shields in unison and placed them in front of their bodies. The second wave of arrows immediately dispersed like the wind. Charge! At the command, the guards held their shields in front of their bodies in their left hands and their swords in their right, ready to attack at any time. They continued to charge forward. Shameless! The players from Reigning the Seas cried and wiped away their tears. The formation that they had painstakingly formed was once again broken. From the class settings of the parallel world, those who could reach the shield coefficient and use a shield to defend themselves were all heavy warriors. This was the ultimate HP class in the parallel world, but their combat performance was mediocre. At this moment, these NPC guards wielded their swords and could also take out their shields to protect themselves. Both weapons met the coefficient requirement. What else could it be if not shameless? In theory, this was no different from a dual practitioner of magic and martial arts. The members of the child elite group were naturally shocked. Brother Yu said as he recorded, "What classes do these guards have? Are they warriors or knights?" Everyone shook their heads. "I'll go and test it out," Brother Yu said. "There's no need." Yutian Shenming stopped him. "The guild channel is in an uproar. Countless people have appraised them, but they're all question marks." "Their levels are quite high," Brother Yu exclaimed. Their gazes returned to the battlefield. The scattered raining the seas finally found some clues. Some people pointed at the shields of the guards and said, "They're the guards of Moonlit Night City. They're the guards of Moonlit Night City." In the parallel world, people's teams were always divided by badges. Every major city had their own badges, which could be seen everywhere inside and outside the main city. The pattern on the shields of the guards was the emblem of Moonlit Night City. But even though they knew, they were still at a loss. Everyone didn't understand how they had offended the NPCs of Moonlit Night City and suffered such inhumane attacks. Even Raining's trump card, the arrow formation, was useless, and the other resistance was not even worth mentioning. Whether it was the carpet bombing of the mages, the sneak attack of the thieves, or the head-on collision of the warriors, everything that was hit by the guards could only be described with one word: fly. The players of Raining the Seas fell one after another. They ignored the commands of their bosses and fled in all directions. Even the 3 core members of Unsworn Sword were no longer in the mood to resist. They each chose a direction and retreated with the remaining players around them. The guards didn't chase after them. When Raining the Seas began to flee, they still maintained the situation where they were. A moment later, all the players of Raining the Seas who could run had fled. The rest were the heavily injured who were lying on the ground, groaning. "Did you notice?" Brother Yu said in shock. "These guards charged here and there, but not a single person died." "I noticed it a long time ago," said the Han family young master. "No matter when or where, there would always be a white light when someone died. But the white light just now was all from the guards. The players of Raining the Seas didn't contribute at all. After fighting for so long, they had only been knocked down, but never killed." Then the leading knight ordered the guards, "Take them all back to the prison." "Yes, sir," the guards shouted. Then they picked up all the players who had fallen to the ground. They didn't know what kind of godly system skill they used, but the players couldn't resist at all. They were escorted into a line by the guards. The leading knight bowed to Adrian, then led the guards away with the group of players. The child elite group's jaws dropped. Even the Han family young master didn't expect such an ending. What's the meaning of this? Where are they being taken? Everyone guessed as they ordered Yutian Shenming to quickly send a message in the guild channel. "There's no news. The people who were taken away didn't send any messages," replied Yutian Shenming, who was paying attention to the guild channel. Could it be that they're locked up like they were in prison?" Brother Yu said. "Are these people going to be sent back to prison?" "A few hours?" As they discussed, they couldn't help but walk out of the church's ruined courtyard. They watched as the guards escorted the players away. This strange formation attracted many admiring gazes. Raining the Four Seas players didn't dare approach, afraid that they would be treated as bandits and captured by the guards. Other players wanted to ask about it, but were stopped by the guards. Those who didn't like the NPCs could only fly away. Making an enemy out of an NPC is a big mistake. Brother Yu sighed as he closed his notebook after he finished gathering information. Be careful in PvP next time. See how powerful the guards are. Unscathed in battle said to Gu Fei. There aren't usually this many guards in the city, said Gu Fei. Sooner or later, I'll get the guards to arrest you, a PvP maniac, said Yutian Shenming. He's a criminal. Just kill him on the spot, said Unscathed in battle. Lu Zheng didn't know what to say, but the Han family young master interrupted. What are you talking about? Let's continue our business. What business? Everyone was enjoying a high-level fight that they wouldn't normally see, and forgot everything else in the excitement. I'll contact Reflection of Years, said the Han family young master. But there was no reply. Reflection of Years was still online, but he didn't say anything. That guy was caught too? Everyone suddenly understood. Don't tell me the note is in his hands. They looked at each other. What's the rush? Said the Han family young master. Looking at reigning the Four Seas situation, we can't continue the quest today. Let's go back first. Yeah, it's about time to log off. Gu Fei looked at the time. They didn't do anything that night, just running back and forth. The six of them prepared to return to Moonlit Night City. June Rain, who had been traveling with them, excitedly ran back to study Adrian's cellar. On the way back to the city, the guards escorting the players from reigning the Four Seas appeared in front of them. As the six of them walked, they unexpectedly bumped into reigning the Four Seas. Unsworn Sword and Feng Xing led a group of guild members, looking at the escorting team in front of them with melancholy. They saw the 6 members of Child Elite Group, but they were still expressionless, not even smiling. Guild leader Unsworn. The Han family young master took the initiative to wave his hand in greeting. Leader Han. Unsworn Sword waved back dispiritedly. What's going on? The Han family young master pointed at the team in front of them. I think I saw your people with an NPC? I sent a message to Reflection of Years, but he didn't reply. The Han family young master asked a question he already knew the answer to. In the eyes of Gu Fei and the others who knew the ins and outs of the group, he was asking for a beating. Chapter 304. Unsworn Sword spoke in a sorrowful tone as he told the story from start to finish. The 6 Child Elite Group players were in pain as they listened. Holding back their laughter was as painful as holding back their tears. Unsworn Sword sighed as he recounted the story. In the end, he asked in confusion, "What do you think is going on?" The 6 of them looked at each other. The Han family young master coughed and said, Could it be some sort of quest plot? We think so too. Let's follow them and see what they're up to," Unsworn Sword said. The outcome was not out of everyone's expectations. The large group of players were escorted back to the city by the guards and went straight to the dungeon. Just like that, they disappeared into the black hole of the dungeon entrance under everyone's gaze. Although all communication would be forcibly cut off in the dungeon, there was a setting for visitation. There was only one word for visitation: money. As long as you paid up, you could do anything with the prisoners inside other than bail them out. There was also no time limit. It was very popular among couples who couldn't be apart for even a moment. Unsworn Sword subordinates locked Unsworn Sword in a cell. After the NPC guards left, he carefully walked over to the cell. He used the same amount of force as when he knocked on Adrian's door. 3 parts forward, 7 parts back. He was worried that the system god would immediately recognize that he was the boss of the criminals. In the end, what he was worried about did not happen. The dungeon guards did as they usually did. After paying a hefty visitation fee, Unsworn Sword went in to greet his brothers. The players in the dungeon were as clueless as Unsworn Sword. They knew a little more than Unsworn Sword. They only knew that they would be in jail for 4 hours. As for the reason, the system did not issue an official announcement. However, the word robber frequently appeared in the conversations between the NPCs, which made them feel wronged. In their eyes, they had only surrounded Adrian. Speaking of which, their actions did seem like robbers, but they had never heard of an NPC being arrested and thrown in jail by the guards. Since when did NPCs have such human rights? The players in the dungeon were furious. When Unsworn Sword entered, he was very depressed. When he came out, Unsworn Sword looked like he was about to sink into oblivion. Looking at the people from the Child Elite Group waiting for him outside the dungeon, he only reacted after a while and asked, "Is there anything else?" The Han family young master sighed. "Have you forgotten? Bring the note to Qianli and ask Adrian to try it out." Oh, Unsworn Sword was currently in a daze. Without much thought, he took out the note and gave it to Gu Fei. "How long will they be in prison?" Gu Fei took the note and asked. 4 hours. Unsworn Sword replied. "Then we can't continue the mission today, right?" Gu Fei asked. Unsworn Sword nodded and turned to the Han family young master. "Can you contact the other mercenary group leaders?" The Han family young master shook his head. Unsworn Sword looked like he was about to collapse. Damn it, I still have to inform these people. Clearly, the person in charge of contacting these people was the reflection of years. Unsworn Sword, as the guild leader, didn't seem to care about these trivial matters. Then I'll continue this tomorrow? Gu Fei waved the note at Unsworn Sword. Of course. Unsworn Sword felt annoyed just looking at the note. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over. After saying a few words to the others, he cursed and left with his other brothers. Should we try it out now? Gu Fei asked the other 5 for their opinion. Of course, how else can we sleep at night? Brother, you said. Do you sleep at night? Gu Fei was confused. Of course. The 5 scolded Gu Fei for not treating them as humans. After asking around, the 6 of them finally found the system appraiser of Moonlit City. It was a masked woman who looked like a wizard. She was the appraisal teacher of all players in Moonlit City. Give me the account book. Gu Fei gestured to the Han family young master. Wait. Brother, you said. What? Everyone looked at Brother Yu. Let me try first. I want to see if this quest can only be completed by Qianli, who has a relationship with the werewolf. Brother, you said. Let's see what the logic of this parallel world setting is. If that's the case, you can't try. You went to meet the werewolf with Qianli. Logically speaking, it seems like you accepted this quest with Qianli, Sword Demon said. Makes sense. Brother Yu nodded. Let me try. Sword Demon stretched out his hand and asked for the note and account book. Gu Fei looked at them. Their tireless research on online games touched Gu Fei. It would be great if there were so many people who had the same spirit for Kung Fu. The sword ghost took the note and the account book and requested the appraiser to appraise the handwriting of the 2 items. Everyone was worried that the NPC didn't understand what they were talking about. The appraiser nodded and raised 2 fingers. 200 gold coins. Damn. The 6 of them cursed. Shameless. Profiteer. Despicable. The system is crazy poor. The game company wants money more than lives. The discussion went on for a full 10 minutes. Sword Demon weakly interrupted everyone. Hey, are you going to appraise it or not? Appraise it. Wool comes from the sheep, Han family young master said. Therefore, the sword ghost took out 200 gold coins and tossed them to the appraiser before handing over the note and the account book. The appraiser took the note and glanced at it. Then she picked up the account book and flipped through it. When the 6 of them were guessing which page she was going to stop at, the appraiser had already handed the note and account book back. It's the same handwriting. The appraisal process didn't take more than 5 seconds. The 6 of them didn't even have time to experience the tense moment of holding their breath and staring. 200 gold coins were spent just like that, but they didn't experience any entertainment at all. The 6 of them felt that the system was too despicable. Since it charged such a high price, it should at least do something to appraise it. Such a perfunctory process really made them unhappy. But no matter what, since the system had already spoken, it meant 2 things. First, Adrian was the real mastermind behind the scenes. Second, this plot wasn't only completed by Gu Fei. Han family young master hid Adrian's account book and caused a lot of trouble for Unhindered. Now that the plot is completed, will Adrian admit it when we go back? Sword Demon asked the others. Everyone was confused. The logic in a parallel world was not parallel to reality at all. Sometimes it was like reality, and sometimes it was like the rules of an online game. It was unpredictable and tormenting the player's nerves. Just in case, the 6 of them asked the appraiser to produce a proof to prove that the note and the account book were written by the same person. The 6 of them thought that this proof would be an important tool to get Adrian to admit his guilt. Proof? My words are proof. The masked woman was surprisingly arrogant. 6 great experts had been looked down upon by an NPC. The 6 of them could not help but feel indignant as they left. Are we going to find Adrian now? Of course, how can we sleep if we don't go? And so, the 6 of them continued on their way to Luminous Village. On the way, they met quite a number of Cloud City players who were returning to the city. After being informed by Unsworn Sword that they couldn't continue for the day, they were all unhappy that they had wasted an entire night. Looks like this unhindered quest will offend quite a few people. Brother Yu looked at the unhappy players and sighed. They lack the qualities of a professional mercenary. Han family young master said. The 5 of them looked at him. Including us. He continued. See, the 5 of them looked at him with disdain. With so many mercenaries gathered together, there's no way they'll be united. If they succeed in this unhindered quest, then they'll be lucky. If they fail, then they'll be ruined because of this failure. Let's wait and see. Han family young master said. You. Why do you look like you're hoping for them to fail? Gu Fei said. I'm just not happy with the atmosphere. He invited us over, but he doesn't trust us enough. TSK. Does he really think he can get people to do things for him just by spending some money? One look and I can tell he's not made for a boss. Han family young master said. I think you're thinking too deeply, Gu Fei said. It's not that they don't trust us, it's just that your frequent extortion has made them afraid, so they're avoiding us. You see, this is abnormal. Extortion? If it was extortion, then it wouldn't be this price. That's because they're jealous. They hate that we always have to help them at the crucial moment, so they're avoiding us. To be honest, we're only 6 people. Do you think they'll pay us more than 100 people from the Black Hand mercenary group? Let me tell you, it's far from it. We're probably only worth 20 people from the Black Hand mercenary group. That's too much. Gu Fei was angry. I can kill 20 people from the Black Hand mercenary group by myself. That's why. There's no extortion at all. The price I offered is reasonable. Han family young master said. The sword ghost nudged him and said, there's extortion. You hid their account book. Han family young master looked at him in disdain. This isn't extortion. This is fighting for business. Everyone was speechless. Chapter 305. Due to the departure of the Cloud City players, Luminous Village was exceptionally quiet at this time. The NPCs only knew to stand quietly at their posts, and wouldn't run around chattering like the players. The 6 of them did not speak along the way. When they arrived at Adrian's mansion, they immediately saw that familiar and busy figure. This girl is too persistent. Everyone was touched. Little Rain. Gu Fei shouted and waved his hand. June Rain, who was sweating profusely in the backyard of Adrian's mansion, turned around and saw the 6 of them. She wiped her sweat and waved at them. With this wipe, the originally sweaty and attractive face instantly looked like it had been censored. What are you doing now? Gu Fei walked up and asked. June Rain's body was now half buried in the ground. I'm going to dig a tunnel and sneak into Adrian's basement. What do you think? Isn't this a great idea? June Rain said. Will this work? Gu Fei wiped his sweat. How will you know if you don't try? June Rain said. Won't Adrian scold you if you do this? Gu Fei said. Isn't he not here? June Rain was confused. He's already back. Gu Fei said. When a bunch of people were fighting here, he was also here. Really? I didn't see him. June Rain panicked and quickly climbed out of the hole. Don't panic. Gu Fei comforted her. You hide here for now, he'll be gone soon. Oh. June Rain let out a sigh of relief. He didn't see me right. Probably not. Gu Fei felt like he was coaxing a child. Hurry up and see if he's gone. June Rain ordered Gu Fei. Right away, right away. Gu Fei hurriedly stood up. When he turned around, he saw the 5 of them staring at the girl in a daze. There were actually many ways to attract attention. Ahem. Gu Fei coughed. The 5 of them came back to their senses and tried to hide their gaffes. Hurry up, Gu Fei said. Sword Demon and Brother Yu, check if there are other exits in the room. Wu Shang was guarding the cellar. Perhaps his room was connected to it. Yu Tian, guard the side of the house. Make sure that if he escapes in any of the 3 directions, you can shoot him. Qianli and I entered from the main entrance. Is there a problem? Han family young master said. No. The 5 of them answered and went back to their respective duties. Sword Demon and Brother Yu circled around and didn't find anything like a back door, so they focused on monitoring the windows. Yutian Shenming also chose a sniping position, while Unscathed in Battle squatted directly on the cellar. Junrain, who was in a large pit, popped her head out from time to time like a groundhog. However, she didn't notice Unscathed in Battle, who was less than 3 meters behind her. Gu Fei and Han family young master came to the door and knocked. No one knew what an NPC hiding in the room was doing. Perhaps he was standing behind the door and waiting for players to knock. In any case, Han family young master only needed to knock once before the door was quickly opened. Only people who were poisoned by online novels or people like Junrain would talk to an NPC patiently. People like Han family young master came with a goal. It was simple and clear. He took a slip of paper and an account book and threw it at Adrian. You've been exposed for blackmailing the werewolves. Die. His actions and words were as simple as they could be. However, all the necessary items had been shown and the key points had been conveyed. There was no reason for the quest to be stopped. Compared to Han family young master, Gu Fei was also a simple and straightforward person. Han family young master had just finished speaking when Gu Fei had already unsheathed his sword. Adrian was shocked and frightened, but Gu Fei's sword had already flown up. Although the Wolf King's Fang and the shape-shifting necklace had been confiscated by Gu Fei last time, the newly spawned Adrian was someone who knew about the werewolves. Who knew if he was hiding another Wolf King's Fang. The werewolves were already LVL 70 monsters, and a Wolf King would be a LVL 70 boss. Gu Fei definitely wouldn't give it the chance. So, just like the last time he fought against Adrian, he quickly engaged him in combat. Adrian's strength was the same as before. Unfortunately, Gu Fei had risen by 10 levels compared to the last time they fought. His equipment was also vastly different. 2 dual flame flashes were enough to burn Adrian into a beardless old man. The two fought like a whirlwind in the room. Adrian was completely suppressed by Gu Fei. Han family young master was originally holding his staff ready to support Gu Fei at any time. However, seeing the situation, he put the staff back into his pocket. He wandered around the room with his hands behind his back. Finally, he stopped at an oil painting hanging on the wall. He sighed and said, "This game really put in a lot of effort. This oil painting is quite detailed. Hey, come and take a look." Scram. Gu Fei scolded him as he gave Adrian another 2 blows. After the Han family young master lost his sense of novelty, he moved a stool to the corner of the room and opened a bottle of wine. He drank and praised Gu Fei's skills from time to time. Of course, he also urged Gu Fei to be faster. Gu Fei was in high spirits. He imagined Adrian to be the Han family young master, slashing and slashing with all his might. Adrian was indeed Adrian. When he saw that he couldn't win, he used the same words as before to tempt him. "Help the werewolves kill your own kind, and all my wealth will belong to you." Unfortunately for him, he met the same opponent twice. Gu Fei naturally wasn't moved by his words and resolutely went for the kill. However, what happened next exceeded Gu Fei's expectations. Seeing that Adrian's skills were becoming more and more unbearable, and that he could only wait for death, Gu Fei estimated that he would be able to deal with him within 2 or 3 strikes. But suddenly, Adrian was like a Saint Seiya who had received the encouragement of the goddess. An incomparably surging power erupted from somewhere, and with a speed that far exceeded Gu Fei's imagination, he suddenly broke away from Gu Fei's swordsmanship. Fuck! The Han family young master, who was watching the show from the side, immediately smashed his bottle and stood up. However, Adrian didn't rush towards the door. Instead, he pounced towards the window. The window. The Han family young master quickly sent a message in the mercenary channel, hoping that the guys outside would be able to stop him in time. Lightning descend. Gu Fei also quickly chanted. After 4 dual flame flashes, he always had a lightning spell left. A bolt of lightning descended from the roof and struck Adrian's head. The spell cast by the Dark Streak sword was much stronger than a normal slash. According to Gu Fei's calculations, this bolt of lightning was enough to kill Adrian. However, Adrian was like a cockroach that couldn't be killed. Even after being struck by the lightning, he still charged towards the window. However, his footsteps were already staggering, and he no longer had the indomitable aura he had at the beginning. Gu Fei darted behind him, and with a flick of his wrist, he struck Adrian multiple times. This was already the limit of what Gu Fei could do in the game. The Han family young master, who was a layman, couldn't even see where the sword was coming from. All he could see was a dazzling purple light. Adrian finally fell, a step away from the window. He raised his arm high, as if he was still yearning for the window. However, as he fell, his palm hit the window, and it opened with a whoosh. Gu Fei and the Han family young master didn't pay much attention to it. They just felt that this NPC's death was a bit tragic. In the end, they heard the sound of a bird's wings flapping. A gray shadow jumped out of nowhere and flew out of the window. What's that? Gu Fei quickly rushed to the window, and the Han family young master wasn't much slower. The two of them looked up and saw a gray pigeon flying into the sky. Pigeon. The Han family young master quickly sent a message in the mercenary channel. That's too difficult. Yutian Shenming said regretfully. No matter how good he wasn't so good that he could shoot down a pigeon-sized moving target. Although he had released a tracking arrow, it was obviously too slow to catch up. Adrian released it? Gu Fei looked at Adrian's corpse on the ground. It should be, said the Han family young master. There was a reasonable explanation for Adrian's final outburst. He didn't accumulate his strength to escape, but to release the pigeon. The pigeon, of course, was to deliver a message. As for what the message was, no one knew. As for how Adrian accumulated his strength, if you want to argue with the unreasonable system, you'll lose. At this time, the sword demon and brother Yu were already outside the window. They saw Adrian's corpse and heaved a sigh of relief. It's done. They then asked. What just flew out? Probably a pigeon delivering a letter. What letter? Two possibilities. The Han family young master said. First, it's a letter targeting the werewolves. However, this possibility isn't high. He was seen through by us, not because the werewolves didn't follow his instructions. It's not logical to take revenge on the werewolves before death. So, it should be the second possibility. It's a continuation of this mission. Judging from how Adrian threatened the werewolves, this was an organized operation to silence them. For the players, it's obviously a special escort mission to destroy the Four Seas. The message that Adrian sent before his death was probably to inform the next player that he had failed. The next player should be prepared. Chapter 306. Based on what you're saying, if we could have stopped that pigeon, then raining the Four Seas mission would have been a piece of cake? Brother, you said. Of course not. The only difference is an unprepared opponent and an prepared opponent. The latter is obviously more difficult. Han family young master said. Everyone nodded in agreement. The discussion about this issue ended here. After all, the mission was raining the Four Seas. As a group of uneducated mercenaries, they didn't care what kind of difficulties they would encounter in the raining the Four Seas mission. What do we do next? Bring Adrian's corpse to the werewolves? Gu Fei looked down. Adrian, who was lying on the ground, looked like he was asleep. He didn't look like a dead person. I don't think so. We just need to find the werewolves and tell them. They have the system behind them, so they know everything. But the problem is that we can't go now. Han family young master said. We're not in the middle of a mission right now. Let's dismiss the werewolves. When the guys from raining the Four Seas come tomorrow, we'll be able to take advantage of it. When that time comes, will they believe that we solved it? Then we'll talk about it tomorrow. Gu Fei said. Okay, hurry up and log off. Han family young master said. Thus, Gu Fei went to greet Jun Rain and told her that Adrian wasn't there anymore. She could dig without worry. Jun Rain happily continued to work. Gu Fei returned to Moonlit Night City and logged off. For hours later, raining the Four Seas players were released. Naturally, the first thing they did was check on the situation of the mission. After knowing that Child Elite Group had a hand in it, raining the Four Seas immediately contacted Han family young master. Oh, Qianli did it himself when he was drunk. Not long after, he logged off. I don't know the situation. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Han family young master said. What about the note? Raining the Four Seas asked. Do you want it now? Of course. The Han family young master did not tell him that the problem had been solved. Of course, reflection years would not give up just like that. He still wanted to rely on them to solve this problem. In terms of handling the situation, he and the elite group were completely in line. They would first firmly believe that Adrian was the mastermind behind the scenes, and then find evidence to expose him. After getting the note back, Time of Reflection immediately began to contact Adrian again. He repeatedly asked, repeatedly searched, and repeatedly monitored, but still found nothing. The Reflection of Time tried all the methods he could think of, but Adrian's reaction to this matter was one of confusion. This time, he was really at a loss, because this Adrian was already the third Adrian that the system had spawned. The Adrian who had threatened the werewolves to go against reigning the Four Seas was, in fact, no longer in this world. The one in front of him, if he followed the path of the past, might have played the role of the antagonist in one of the quests. However, at this moment he had nothing to do with the escort quest of reigning the Four Seas, so of course he would be at a loss when talking to him about this quest. Unfortunately, the Reflection of Time did not know this. He tossed and turned for an entire night. When the sun rose in the east, the Reflection of Time was already extremely sleepy, but Adrian was still in high spirits in front of him. The Reflection of Time had to admit that he had lost. Perhaps it was as he had thought. This quest had been accepted by Qianli in a drunken stupor, so only he could complete it. That was what the Reflection of Time thought. Of course, he did not know that the reason he had been tossing and turning all night without any progress was actually because he was unable to accept a quest that had already been completed. Placing all of his hopes on Gu Fei was naturally what the Han family young master wanted. What happened next was very simple. The Han family young master did not even have to take the initiative to negotiate with them. As long as the problem was solved, they would naturally hand over the payment that was due. After all, Unsworn Sword and the others were quite tactful. The next day, the 700 or so players of Reigning the Four Seas waited anxiously for the entire day. Finally, when it was close to 7 o'clock at night, the long-awaited Sir Gu Fei came online. Without any unnecessary words, Gu Fei took the lead and found the werewolves before the rest of the troops set off. As expected, when Gu Fei told them that Adrian had been dealt with, the werewolves were immediately convinced. They packed up their things and were about to return to the village happily. Gu Fei was still anxiously waiting for a reward, but the tall werewolf named Wuxia did not even bother to transform into his human form. He stretched out his claws and tapped Gu Fei's shoulder, howling twice. Unfortunately, Gu Fei did not understand the language of werewolves. So after he returned to his human form, he solemnly howled at Gu Fei again. "We will always remember your kindness. Have a safe journey." Gu Fei waved at the werewolves. "Please keep this." Wuxia began to dig into his pocket. Even Gu Fei, who was not very passionate about in-game equipment, could not help but have his eyes light up. He had learned from the mistake of the Dark Knight streamer. Even if he did not care about equipment, he had to admit that he was so famous in the game because of the Dark Knight streamer. A werewolf's product must be of high quality. As Gu Fei muttered to himself, the werewolf Wuxia had already handed over the item. It was a belt. To be precise, it was a very wretched-looking belt. The buckle was in the shape of a wolf's head. The fierce look in its eyes was one thing, but the half of the wolf's mouth seemed to be purposely made to drool. The werewolf's ferocious image was completely destroyed by the saliva, and the fierce look in its eyes seemed to be a little off. A word popped up in Gu Fei's mind. Pervert. Is this belt for jokes? Gu Fei muttered as he took it. Wolf's brand. Apart from the defense and pocket expansion functions that ordinary belts had, this wolf's brand naturally had special attributes. Werewolf self-healing. Possesses the strong vitality of a werewolf, and recovers 1% of maximum HP every second. Gu Fei was speechless. It was related to HP again, and what he urgently needed was mana. Although Gu Fei did not like it, this equipment was undeniably a top-tier item. The purple font was enough to explain it. Compared to the Knight's Life Blessing, the werewolf's self-healing was very precious. The Knight's Life Blessing also allowed the player's HP to recover after being cast. However, it would automatically recover HP every 5 seconds, and the amount of HP recovered was also fixed, not a percentage. On the market, equipment that increased one's HP and MP were common, but equipment with self-recovery functions were rare. In the parallel world, There were no medicines that could recover during battle, so one could imagine how precious this kind of equipment was. If this belt fell into the hands of a heavy warrior, it would be enough to make him excited for 3 days and 3 nights. However, at this moment, it was in Gu Fei's hands. He lowered his head and looked at the plain leather belt on his waist, hesitating whether or not to change into it. Even its basic attributes were much stronger than his cowhide belt. But the problem was, this design was really... Gu Fei turned it over and looked at the wolf's head buckle again. Wretched. Very wretched. I can't show it outside. Gu Fei thought as he fastened the wolf's brand inside his clothes. This didn't affect the attributes of the equipment, but a mage's robe needed to be bound by a belt to show its beauty. At this time, with the belt inside, the robe hung straight down, and the person would look like a can. Gu Fei didn't know this at this time. After saying goodbye to the werewolf, he stood on the side of the road like a can, waiting for the main force of Cloud City to arrive. He had already sent a message to them, informing them that the crisis had been completely resolved. Not long after, the main force arrived, and walking at the front were naturally the 3 core members, Unsworn Sword, Reflection of Years and Wind Star. Although they were unwilling, they still expressed their gratitude to Gu Fei for solving the problem. After that, the 3 carefully pondered the mystery of Gu Fei's appearance, and continued to lead the team forward. Mercenary groups were usually at the back of the team, and Child Elite group was often at the back. For a moment, Gu Fei received everyone's attention. In the general understanding of the players, a mage dressed like this could only be described with one word: disheveled. This situation continued until Tsubasa Sakuratsuka's Big Hunt mercenary group arrived. Being familiar with Gu Fei, they couldn't help but be surprised by Gu Fei's appearance. In the end, Fireball came over and whispered to Gu Fei, "Brother Zue, fasten your belt after you're done." Say what? Gu Fei didn't understand. Fireball's gaze was even more wretched than the werewolf's buckle. Hee, having sex in the wild, as expected of Brother Zue. Did you lose your belt after you're done? I still have one here. You can fasten it first. What are you talking about? Gu Fei knocked on Fireball's head, finally understanding what this guy was thinking. The belt is fastened, it's inside. Gu Fei lifted the hem of his mage robe to show Fireball the wolf's brand inside. Why? Why is it inside? Fireball didn't understand. It's too ugly, Gu Fei said. No way. It's cool. I think it's very nice. I like it very much. Fireball couldn't help but touch the wolf's head on the buckle. Gu Fei was speechless. In terms of temperament, the wolf's head buckle and Fireball were indeed very compatible. But Brother Zue, Fireball continued, you can't do this. If the belt is fastened inside, the mage robe will look very ugly on you. Well, it doesn't matter. Can it be more wretched than the belt? Gu Fei said. It's like wearing a nightgown that's too long and wandering in a crowd. Isn't that wretched? Fireball said. Gu Fei shuddered. If the belt is fastened inside, the mage robe has to be worn like this, Fireball said as he untied the belt around his waist. As Fireball spoke, he untied his belt and undid all the buttons on his robe. Then he lifted one side of the robe with one hand and put the other hand on his waist. He lowered his head and bent his body slightly to strike a pose. Having a variety of styles is a great tool for a mage to pick up girls. Chapter 307. See. Fireball posed as he spoke to Gu Fei. But the robe has to be of this style. It's rare to see this kind of trench coat style robe. Fireball proudly showed off his so-called trench coat style robe. When he lifted up Gu Fei's robe, he was surprised. Oh, so it's yours too, Brother Zue. Then it's easy. Fireball unbuttoned Gu Fei's robe and took a few steps back to examine it. In the end, he shook his head regretfully. Brother Zue, your robe is very cool, but the clothes inside are too shabby. I know a player who's a tailor. He's quite skilled and can already make clothes with this kind of lining. More importantly, he's a tailor himself, and his skills are very good. Look at this. Fireball moved closer to Gu Fei and showed the clothes inside his robe to Gu Fei. See? A casual shirt. You can't make clothes in real life. Even if you learn tailoring in the game, you won't be able to make something like this. Too bad he's in Cloud City now. But don't worry, I'll bring you to him when we get back. I'm the one who introduced you, so he'll give you a 30% discount. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Fireball returned to the team after he finished speaking, leaving Gu Fei standing by the side of the road in a daze until the 5 members of Child Elite Group arrived. How was it? Did the werewolves give you any rewards? They asked. Gu Fei removed the mark of the wolf from his waist and showed it to the 5 of them. He then put on his mage robe again and fastened his original leather belt. Ah! The guys who passed the wolf brand left a series of exclamations. Han family young master was the last to get it. He glanced at it and threw it back to Gu Fei. Is this quest for reigning the world or yours? You've only been on the road for a while, and you've already gotten so many things. Gu Fei shrugged and put the belt back into his pocket. You don't need it? Unscathed in Battle's eyes lit up. With Gu Fei's bold and playful attitude, it was extremely easy for him to get what he didn't need. In the end, Unscathed in Battle's intentions were quickly noticed by the others, and they all looked at him with disdain. Your expression is too despicable. Gu Fei also said, the belt is not bad, but the design is not good. No way, it's very cool. Yutian Shunming and Unscathed in Battle said in unison. These two could be considered as playing dirty. However, as soon as he said Unscathed in Battle, he secretly slapped himself in the face. How despicable. It was rare for Gu Fei to have a reason not to like it. Why should she help him like it? The design is not a problem. Brother, you said to Gu Fei. Players with high tailoring skills can modify the design of equipment. Of course, players who don't really know how to do this will definitely make it uglier. So, you still need to find someone who knows how to design and make clothes. I know a player who is learning tailoring in Cloud City. His skills are quite good, and he's a tailor himself. Look at my clothes, he specially decorated them. When we return to Cloud City, I'll bring you to him. I'll introduce him to you, so he'll at least give you a 30% discount. Don't worry, I'll take care of this. Gu Fei looked at Brother Yu and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Brother Yu, do you know what a fireball is? As he spoke, Gu Fei swung his sword and extinguished the fireball. This was the bad thing about mages. When they spoke, they only needed to add the name of a spell between the lines, and they would immediately summon the spell. Every time 2 mages exchanged their insights on their skills, the scene would be in full swing. Fireballs would circle around their bodies, fire wheels would circle above their heads, and heat waves would appear under their feet. Fireballs, chain fireballs, and the like would appear and disappear in front of them. It was extremely beautiful. Brother Yu didn't know that Fireball was a player, so he didn't quite understand Gu Fei's words. Seeing that Gu Fei had already walked away, he looked at the other 4 with lingering fear. He's not threatening me, is he? Unscathed in Battle patted him painfully. Take care. Brother Yu's legs turned to jelly. The group continued to move forward. After that, it was a smooth road with a wide field of vision. It didn't look like they would be ambushed. However, this kind of pure travel was undoubtedly the most boring. After walking like this for 3 hours, another main city finally appeared in the player's sight. Unsworn Sword took out the map that the system had specially given them for this quest. After confirming the coordinates, he nodded. This is it, Whitestone City. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Other than the werewolf when they left Moonlit Night City, they actually didn't encounter any danger. Moreover, the werewolf only existed in the players' conversations. There weren't many who actually saw the werewolf. After that, the quest was handled by the Child Elite Group. For these players, the journey from Moonlit Night City to Whitestone City was equivalent to nothing. The players looked around and could already see the various figures of Whitestone City players in their line of sight. However, in comparison, their army of nearly 1,000 people was more eye-catching. Many players put down what they were doing and looked at the players from Cloud City. Be careful, keep a low profile. Some players who had suffered in Moonlit Night City warned themselves and their companions. Fighting was the main theme of online games, so it was easy to develop a wild style like Moonlit Night City. These people were worried that the players from Whitestone City would have the same strength of character. On the other hand, Unsworn Swords reigning the Four Seas group was more relaxed. They really came prepared. In advance, They went to the Baishur section of the forum to understand the situation of the city. This was a normal and quiet main city. It didn't have the unique atmosphere of Moonlit Night City. After the main force entered the city, everyone let their guard down. The players from the mercenary group went to the resurrection point to register. The players from Reigning the Four Seas followed Unsworn Sword to temporarily store the people they escorted in the dungeon. Most of them also went offline. Although they didn't have any conflicts with other players in Moonlit Night City, during the process of doing quests and leveling up, 3 players unfortunately died because they weren't familiar with the local difficulty of quests and the distribution of monsters. Not only did they return to Cloud City, but the quest also disappeared from the list. It was obvious that they had failed. For the players from Reigning the Four Seas, there was only one life for this guild quest. So after arriving at Whitestone City, many of them didn't dare to be careless and felt that it was safer to go offline. The 6 players from Child Elite Group were quite sneaky. As they approached Whitestone City, they were already looking for a certain person, Silvermoon. According to Cloud Twilight's plan in Moonlit Night City, once Silvermoon arrived at Whitestone City and applied for a temporary residence permit, they would make their move and repeatedly kill him. Cloud Twilight didn't ask for their help, but the 6 of them didn't mind watching this annoying person. Naturally, there were also their comrades from the Silvermoon mercenary group. Gu Fei and the others followed from afar, looking for the whereabouts of Cloud Twilight's group. Because the players from Cloud City were delayed in Moonlit Night City, Cloud Twilight had already led a group of killers to Whitestone City. From time to time, there would be quests coming and going from neighboring main cities. For example, June Rain accepted a quest from Cloud City and went to Moonlit Night City. Although most people couldn't be bothered to do these types of quests, the players from Moonlit Night City knew the way to Whitestone City. Gu Fei and the others watched as Silvermoon's group passed through the intersection of the streets. Like Gu Fei's group, they continuously passed through the streets and secretly followed them. It seemed that Cloud Twilight's group had already made their preparations. At this time, Silvermoon's resurrection point had probably already set up an ambush at the Knight's camp. At this time, they were only watching them without making a move. Naturally, they were waiting for Silvermoon to get registered. This was the first time Silvermoon's group had come to Whitestone City. After asking around, they finally found the nearest resurrection point, the Thieves' Guild. After a simple conversation with the NPC in charge of the resurrection point, the registration could be transferred. Of course, the fee was not unavoidable. The service NPCs in the parallel world were a bunch of money-grubbing machines. Silvermoon and the others weren't in a hurry to go offline. They turned around and were about to leave the resurrection point. When they turned around, they naturally saw Gu Fei's group of 6 following them into the Thieves' Guild. This wasn't strange. The mercenary group players from Cloud City, who entered the city and asked about the resurrection point, basically all came to this Thieves' Guild. There were hundreds of people, some fast, some slow, but they entered in an endless stream. Both sides' eyes met briefly. Silvermoon still squeezed a smile at them. Even though he knew that both sides had already shed all pretense of cordiality, he was still as hypocritical as ever. On the Child Elite Group side, after seeing his smile, Han Family Young Master also greeted him with a smile. Gu Fei and Sword Demon were expressionless. Brother Yu's face was filled with worry. Unscathed in battle, and Yutian Shenming immediately snickered when they brushed past each other. They quickly ran to the NPC to register, then hurriedly chased after the commotion. They're going out. The two of them were extremely excited. Yin Zhongmu had definitely set up a huge formation at the exit. Once this group of people went out, it would definitely be a super fatal blow. They just didn't know how many people Yin Zhongmu's group brought. Could it be all 4,000 people? 4,000 people attacking at the same time. How big of a scene would that be? Who knew how long it would take for the players of Cloud City to have the chance to witness such a scene? Under the eager anticipation of the two, Silvermoon's group finally took the last step to leave the resurrection point. Yutian Shenming excitedly clenched his fist. They're here. In the end, the entrance of the Thieves' Guild was still the same big entrance. It didn't change into a battlefield at all. Players continued to enter and exit, and nothing happened. Huh. How can this be? Old Yun and the others didn't come? The two of them were confused. At this time, Gu Fei and the other three had also completed the registration work, and were quite puzzled about this. Chapter 308. Silvermoon and the others strolled around the city leisurely, pointing and talking as if they were tourists on a trip. Gu Fei was about to go offline, but he wanted to see the scene of Silvermoon getting killed, which was why he decided to temporarily go offline. In the end, the guy who was sneakily hiding behind Silvermoon was still there, but he didn't see them make a move. The people from Child Elite Group couldn't take it anymore. Just as they were about to send a message to Cloud Twilight's head popped out from a certain street. After seeing Silvermoon's movements, he turned around and saw the 6 people. He immediately waved at them. As a result, they didn't have to send a message and surrounded him. Why aren't you making a move? The 6 people were even more anxious than Cloud Twilight. Troublesome. Cloud Twilight said. What? Look, Cloud Twilight pointed at the street that led to the Thieves' Guild. It's all Cloud City players. Indeed, the mercenaries who had just entered White Stone City would first sneak onto this street, and then go to the Thieves' Guild to register. This street was currently filled with the figures of Cloud City players. It's not a good time to make a move now, Cloud Twilight said. How many of you came? Yutian Shenming asked. Cloud Twilight glanced behind him. Not many, around 300. Yutian Shenming was very disappointed. Why are there so few? Doesn't your 10 Guild Alliance have around 4,000 people? It's just to take care of Silvermoon. Do you need so many people? Cloud Twilight said. In reality, Cloud Twilight was very willing to gather 4,000 people to surround Silvermoon and scare him to death. But in reality, after so much time had passed, there weren't that many people who hated Silvermoon anymore. Moreover, most of them didn't have any grudges with Silvermoon. Many of them weren't happy that Qianli came all the way here, so Cloud Twilight didn't force them. They all came willingly. Look, if all 4,000 of you came, you wouldn't need to care about the Cloud City players on this street. Yutian Shenming said. Little brother, you're ruthless. Come to our Moonlit Night City and develop yourself. Yin Zhongmu exclaimed. You're the vicious one. Gu Fei spoke. He meant that with 4,000 people, these people wouldn't dare to help. Do you think we can get rid of them as well? Cloud Twilight had clearly misunderstood. The leader of Moonlit Night City had such a radical way of thinking. Actually, although we all came from Cloud City together, if a fight really broke out at this time, these people might not help. Brother, you said. Yeah, we were only invited together for this quest. We didn't even know each other before. People of the same trade are enemies. Who would want to help him? Unscathed in battle added. We can first fake an attack and see how these people react. If it doesn't work, then we'll think about it. Brother, you said. The group of people surrounded Yin Zhongmu and tried to give him ideas. In reality, they just wanted to see Silvermoon's fate as soon as possible. They didn't want to waste the rest of the night following Yin Zhongmu and patiently looking for an opportunity to attack Silvermoon. Oh, if that's the case. Yin Zhongmu was finally convinced. Just as he was about to launch a probing attack, a group of people suddenly appeared at the intersection behind them. Silvermoon went up and greeted the leader of the group, and the two sides converged. Just like that, Silvermoon's group instantly swelled to a few hundred people. They were on par with Yin Zhongmu's total strength. Unsworn sword? The 6 members of the elite group looked at each other. When did they hook up? They look really familiar. Brother, you said. There's no news in the channel. The spy Yutian Shenming reported. What's so strange about that? Han family young master said. Silvermoon's skills can be a decisive factor in large-scale group battles. How could Unsworn Sword not try to rope in someone like that? With Silvermoon's style, he can even feign civility with his opponents. How could he not take advantage of this kind of relationship? Just wait and see. Who knows, maybe when he returns to Cloud City, he'll be the 4th core member of Reigning the Seas. Can he still return to Cloud City? They all looked at Yin Zhongmu. Yin Zhongmu hesitated. We have to find an opportunity. The situation right now is a bit troublesome. He's together with the leader of this mission. If they fight, all of you in Cloud City will take action, right? The 6 of them didn't say anything. Of course, if Yin Zhongmu were to take action now, unsworn swords Raining the Seas wouldn't sit idly by. Raining the Seas would obviously get all of the mercenaries he hired to help. Yin Zhongmu only had a trifling 300 people. In this unfamiliar place, they had to fight against Cloud City's 1,000 people. Was there any suspense? Don't think that the hot-blooded players of Moonlit Night City were brainless. With his rich battle experience, Yin Zhongmu's estimation of the strength of both sides was even more accurate than the experts of Child Elite Group. Even someone as hot-blooded as him was hesitant to make a move. It could be seen how low the chances of victory were. Thus, in the eyes of these people, Silvermoon and her companions gradually went far away, far away, far away. We're letting him go just like that? The elite group members weren't happy. He sent a brother he doesn't know to follow him. Yin Zhongmu said, I won't follow him. I'm afraid Silvermoon will accidentally turn around and find me. If that's the case, then we'll get back to work. Let's keep in touch if there's any news. The 6 said. Oh, okay. You guys go. If there's something interesting, I'll definitely call you. Yin Zhongmu smiled. The 2 sides tacitly didn't mention anything about helping each other. If they really wanted to help, it would be more difficult. After all, the people of Child Elite Group and the players of Cloud City came out together. If there were any past conflicts, they really shouldn't be resolved at this time. In the course of this mission, everyone was a true comrade. If someone wanted to attack a comrade, it was already a bit unreasonable for them to not help or report the news. Instead, they just stood by and watched the show. Helping out was too outrageous. Yin Zhongmu clearly understood their difficulties, so he didn't mention anything about helping out. He only said that they were just here to watch the show. Of course, they understood what he meant and nodded with expressions of long live the understanding. Yin Zhongmu went to arrange his matters. The 6 of them also split into 2 groups. 5 of them face Gu Fei. It's time to go offline. Heh, if there's a show at night, you won't be able to see it. Gu Fei didn't play the game for long, but he was so skilled. His equipment was way better than theirs, and his level wasn't that far behind theirs. Such an anomaly in the online gaming world made the online gaming experts very unhappy. They were all looking forward to the day when they could pin down Gu Fei. That was the quality that an online gaming expert should have. However, Gu Fei just waved his hand at them. It's fine if I can't see it. I'll go kill him myself when I have time. With that, he went back to the Thieves Guild and logged off. That night, Silvermoon mingled with the players from Raining the Seas and found a place to level up outside of the city. The brothers that Yin Zhongmu sent to keep an eye on them all fell asleep on the grass on the hillside. When they woke up, it was already morning in the real world. When they looked up, the scene in front of them was exactly the same as when they had fallen asleep. They were still leveling up, but it was clear that it was time to retreat. Everyone looked tired after an all-nighter, and after clearing out the last wave of mobs, they began to make preparations to return to the city. Here's our chance. Here's our chance. The soldier who had slept through the night shouted excitedly. What is it? Yin Zhongmu reacted quickly. This was the chance they had been waiting for the entire night. It looks like they're going to log off, the soldier reported. This was indeed an opportunity. After a night of grinding monsters and leveling, the players would organize their night's loot before going offline. For example, they would sell their equipment, deposit some money in the bank, tidy up their inventory, repair their equipment, or even go to a tavern for a drink or two to relax. There were all sorts of arrangements. It was easy to predict that it would be difficult for the players to move as a group. This was indeed a rare opportunity. Continue to keep an eye on them and report their location. Yin Zhongmu called for his brothers to gather, and at the same time his spirits lifted. After an all-nighter, he was naturally very tired. The target is returning to the city. They're probably entering from the west gate, the soldier reported. What's the nearest safe zone to the west gate? Yin Zhongmu hurriedly asked. A brother who had studied the terrain of the city reported. The archer shooting range. Set up an ambush in front of the shooting range and prepare for battle. gather at the knight's camp as well. Keep an eye on the main street leading from the west gate to the shooting range. The nearest taverns, warehouses, blacksmiths, tailors, grocery stores, fruit stores, bakeries, appraisers, and healers, all of them have someone stay there. Also send someone to the bank, auction house, and trading house. Cloud Twilight instructed with incomparable familiarity. Boss, there's no need for that, right? I'll be right behind them, the soldier said. It's easy for you to keep an eye on them, but once they enter the city and disperse, will you be able to find Silvermoon? We're all very tired after an all-nighter. If you're even a bit careless, you might lose her, Yin Zhongmu said. Oh, boss is right. The soldier obviously didn't have the nerve to say that he had slept on a hillside in the wilderness, and was in a good state of mind. Time passed bit by bit. Yin Zhongmu and his subordinates yawned as they set up an ambush. Careful, careful, they're about to enter the city, the soldier reported. I'm watching the west gate. We'll definitely catch Silvermoon. Although they had made arrangements everywhere, it was still best to keep an eye on the enemy. Yin Zhongmu's battle experience was too rich. Chapter 309. Just as Cloud Twilight and the others expected, the players that entered the city didn't gather together. Hundreds of them scattered like birds and beasts. Most of them headed for the nearest revival point. Cloud Twilight was quite nervous. If Silvermoon was among them, then they still wouldn't dare to make a move. But good news came quickly. An energetic soldier reported, Silvermoon. Which direction? Cloud Twilight hurriedly asked. Looks like he's going to the warehouse to pack up, the soldier replied. Keep an eye on him. Wait for them to disperse. Is the archer shooting range ready? Cloud Twilight asked. Yes, it's ready. Silvermoon is going to the warehouse. But there are a lot of players here, and many of them are from Whitestone City. It's not convenient to make a move here, the soldier reported. Just keep an eye on him. Everyone else, gather at the Westgate warehouse and the Archer range, Cloud Twilight ordered. Understood. How many companions are with Silvermoon? Cloud Twilight asked. About 40 to 50 people went to the warehouse, the soldier reported. Quite a lot. Cloud Twilight muttered. If they continue to go together, I'm afraid we'll have to wait for most of Unhindered to log off. Cloud Twilight wasn't trying to give Unhindered any face. It was just that there were a lot of enemies, and the battle wouldn't be short. Even though there were only 40 to 50 of them, they couldn't ignore Silvermoon's frightening battle formation skill. If they didn't wait for Unhindered to log off, they might not be able to take down Silvermoon quickly. If that happened, then all their efforts would be in vain. Moreover, if they missed this attack, they would have already alerted the enemy. With Silvermoon's cunning, it wouldn't be easy for them to find another opportunity. Hit it in one strike, no mistakes allowed. Cloud Twilight waved his fist. Those at the Archer range, send Cloud City's people over there. Once they log off, report back to me. Roger. Where's Unhindered's leader? Cloud Twilight asked the soldier. I didn't notice, the soldier said. Apart from those keeping an eye on him, everyone else is to gather at the Archer range. We'll gather all our forces here and launch an all-out attack, Cloud Twilight said. Silvermoon left the warehouse, the soldier roared. With someone else? Have the people from Cloud City gone offline yet? Twilight and Cloud asked urgently. Some more people have dispersed. Silvermoon and a dozen others are heading in the same direction. I'm following them. You didn't go to the shooting range? No. Coordinates. Everyone get close to the coordinates and move alone, Cloud Twilight hurriedly said. This slut, can you tell where she's going? Cloud Twilight asked. I'm not too sure. The soldier couldn't answer. After all, this was not Moonlit Night City, and he was still unfamiliar with the structure of the city. He could not tell where he was just by looking at the other party's direction. Don't panic, Yin Zhongmu said to his subordinates while reminding himself to calm down. This should be Silvermoon's first time in this main city. Yin Zhongmu analyzed. In order to deal with him, we purposely understood the structure of the city. However, he's only here for a day, so he definitely won't know the way. If he wants to go somewhere, He'll probably have to ask the local players. So if you see him talking to someone, go and ask after he leaves. We'll definitely be able to get the answer. Boss, you're so smart. This guy really is talking to the players on the streets, the soldier said happily. Good job, old Yun. Zhu Xian, who was beside Yun Zhongmu, slapped him heavily. You're pretty smart. Damn you, you're a pig, I'm not. Yun Zhongmu looked at Zhu Xian in disdain as he moved towards Silvermoon's coordinates with his subordinates. At the same time, he quietly waited for news. Boss got it. The soldier said happily. Silvermoon and the others are going to the auction house. Everyone, gather at the auction house, quickly. Yun Zhongmu ordered. At the same time, he proudly boasted to Zhu Xian, I knew this bastard wouldn't know. Isn't the auction house next to the central plaza in all the main cities? Do you even need to ask? Could it be a trap? Zhu Xian said. Fuck. Do you think you're a god? If I threw you into some corner of the city and told you to go straight to the center, would you be able to find it? Damn you, you're just scared of Silvermoon. And you're still talking about a trap. Tui. Yun Zhongmu cursed. Zhu Xian didn't dare make a sound. He was quite afraid of Silvermoon. He was quite famous among his group of brothers. In the past, he couldn't win against Silvermoon no matter how much he played. No matter what he did, he would always be bullied. Under Yun Zhongmu's urging, hurry, hurry. Apart from the ambushers in the knight's camp, everyone else had already gathered at the central plaza of Whitestone City, where the auction house was located. Silvermoon and the others were walking leisurely, but Yun Zhongmu and the others were secretly marching. Some of the faster professions had already arrived before Silvermoon. Even the warriors and priests weren't much slower than Silvermoon and the others. Old Yun, it's a bit hasty to make a move right now. If we don't prepare well, this guy might slip away. Let's let him walk around first, and we'll hurry up and make preparations outside. What do you think? Someone suggested. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's about time for those people to log off, right? Yun Zhongmu asked. They're logged off. Those who came to the shooting range have already logged off, a player reported. Did you see their leader? He's a warrior, Since none of his brothers knew who Oathless Sword was, Yun Zhongmu was thinking about how to describe him. However, one of his brothers already replied. Yeah, he's already logged off. You know him? Yun Zhongmu was curious. Haha, there's a warrior like that. He brought everyone to the shooting range, and even gave a speech. It's obvious that he's the leader. One of his brothers reported. Oh. Yun Zhongmu muttered to himself for a while. He was also the leader, but he didn't have the bad habit of bringing everyone offline and giving a speech. At this time, Yun Zhongmu and the others had also arrived near the auction house. They had also arrived quite early. Seeing that his brothers who had arrived earlier were all acting as if nothing had happened and strolling around the plaza, Yun Zhongmu was very satisfied. He felt that everyone had concealed themselves well. Of course, people like Yun Zhongmu and Zhu Xian, who were Silvermoon's old rivals and acquaintances, couldn't just stroll around like this. These people were currently hiding in the streets. When Yun Zhongmu saw this, he realized that he didn't need to make any more arrangements. Every street was filled with people. Once Silvermoon came out of the auction house, he would be surrounded. Apart from flying into the sky or burrowing into the ground, he had nowhere else to go. When will Silvermoon arrive? I think he can do it now. Yun Zhongmu was still typing when he suddenly saw a flash of light in front of him. Silvermoon's resplendent knight armor had already appeared in front of him. Silvermoon was walking towards the auction house with a few of his mercenary group companions. Fuck. I'll make you cry later if I call you that. Yun Zhongmu cursed inwardly as he notified his subordinates. Silvermoon is already here. Those who haven't come yet, hurry up. It was such a simple order, but it was very troublesome for Yun Zhongmu to give it out. This was because they were the 10 Guilds Alliance, and their members came from 10 guilds. Even if they were from one guild, the system didn't provide an alliance channel. Therefore, Yun Zhongmu was accompanied by members from 9 other guilds. Whatever Yun Zhongmu said would be broadcasted live on the other 9 channels, and any feedback would be sent to Yun Zhongmu. This was indeed very troublesome. However, the 10 Guilds Alliance had been established for quite some time. and everyone was basically used to it. At this time, it wasn't just the 300 people in Whitestone City who were in a tense atmosphere. All of the 10 Guilds Alliance players who were online in Moonlit City knew that these people who went out to hunt down Silvermoon were about to bear fruit. Everyone consciously kept the guild channel clean and quietly waited for the broadcast. Silvermoon's group of 12 people passed through the central plaza and entered the auction house. The 10 Guilds Alliance's people communicated with each other through their eyes, not revealing any flaws. At this time, there were still some who hadn't arrived. Yin Zhongmu urged them to hurry up and arrange for people to surround Silvermoon when he came out of the central plaza. He then summoned a few thieves to hide outside the auction house, and when he came out, they would temporarily block the entrance. The auction house was also a safe zone, and PvP was not allowed there. They couldn't let Silvermoon escape again. If Gu Fei was in the central plaza, he would definitely be able to feel the thick murderous intent coming from all directions. The only regret in Yun Zhongmu's heart was that his brothers from Cloud City's child elite group weren't there, and couldn't enjoy the grand occasion of surrounding and killing Silvermoon. Everyone pay attention. Silvermoon is coming out. A brother in charge of the auction house sent a message. As expected, as soon as the message was sent, the auction house's doors opened, and Silvermoon's group walked out happily. Their faces clearly showed that this trip wasn't in vain. Heh, I'll let you know what a truly worthwhile trip is, Yin Zhongmu thought. Suddenly he froze, and saw a flame revolving above Silvermoon's head. A mage's skyfall firewheel instantly formed, and without hesitation he smashed it down. Motherfucker! Which bastard did this? Yin Zhongmu flew into a rage. According to the plan, they would wait until Silvermoon was a certain distance away from the auction house. Then, the members who were pretending to be bored in the square would go up first. Then the people hiding in the streets would come out. They would surround Silvermoon in a small way, then a large way, from the inside to the outside, so that she would have nowhere to run. This skyfall firewheel did indeed hit Silvermoon, but at the same time, it also blew out all the thieves hiding in stealth. After being attacked by a mage, Silvermoon saw several thieves suddenly appear beside her. She immediately realized that something had happened, and turned around, wanting to rush back into the auction house. The thieves could only risk their lives to stop her. At this moment, Silvermoon's group had already left, but the auction house's doors weren't closed. Several warriors fiercely rushed out. The thieves didn't recognize them, so they hurriedly raised their hands to defend. The pitiful thieves had already been hit by a skyfall firewheel. They weren't a match for the warriors in a direct confrontation. Of course, Yin Zhongmu wasn't in a hurry to find out who the bastard was. He had already rushed out with all his brothers. At the same time, the Central Plaza's bank, trading center, and other buildings all opened their doors, and a large group of players rushed out. What's going on? Yin Zhongmu was confused. Fuck, it's Lan Yi. Zhu Xian roared. Yin Zhongmu turned around and saw a mage wearing a blue robe. It was the former vice guild leader of Dust, Lan Yi. Fuck, is it really a trap? Yin Zhongmu looked around. There were many players rushing out of the buildings. Banks and trading centers were all large buildings. They could easily accommodate hundreds or even thousands of people. The skyfall firewheel from before was naturally explained. Of course, it wasn't thrown by one of their own. Yin Zhongmu had long since suspected that his brothers, who had experienced hundreds of battles, wouldn't do something so ridiculous in the middle of a battle. Let's retreat first. Zhu Xian trembled. When he heard that they had fallen into Silvermoon's trap, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Retreat my ass. You bastard. You don't look like you came from your father's side. There are 4,487 brothers in the 10 Guild Alliance, and you're the only one who wants to be a bastard at crucial times. Yin Zhongmu roared at Zhu Xian. He turned around and pulled out his dagger, charging towards Lan Yi. This was the strength of character of the Moonlit Night City players. Before the battle, they would negotiate, plan, set up traps, but once the battle started, they would always press forward with indomitable will. There were only 2 words to describe it. Kill them all. When they had the upper hand, they would kill them all. When they were at a disadvantage, They would fight until the other side killed them all. They would never retreat, and they would never run away. Yin Zhongmu always believed that these people were his true brothers. Fuck, let's go. Zhu Xian, who had been left behind by Yin Zhongmu, suddenly roared. He waved his giant axe and charged after Yin Zhongmu. Chapter 310. While Yin Zhongmu's subordinates were astonished at the sudden appearance of this group of people, they were also astonished by the sudden appearance of this group of people in the plaza, and the sudden appearance of this group of people in the streets. Everyone's gaze turned to their boss. Yin Zhongmu's subordinates were the first to see Yin Zhongmu. Many of them quickly recognized him. Fuck Lan Yi. When Lan Yi saw the thief rushing towards him, he also roared, "Fuck Yin Zhongmu." However, the loudest voice came from Silvermoon. He waved his golden sword, and a king's command light spread out. He roared, "Brothers, kill!" Both sides quickly entered a phase of close combat. Yin Zhongmu and his subordinates, who had once again been ambushed by Silvermoon, shouted loudly. They swore to kill all of these people in front of them. They wanted to go for wool and come home shorn. On Lan Yi's side, when he heard Silvermoon's shout, he instantly exploded with fighting spirit. His eyes were slightly red, and he commanded his comrades to fiercely counterattack Yin Zhongmu. As soon as the battle came into contact, the central plaza exploded with countless white lights. Yin Zhongmu's group was very experienced in group battles. Lan Yi's group from Moonlit Night City wasn't bad either. After receiving fire, they quickly gathered their strength and tried to kill as many enemies as possible. This was a type of group battle that the players from Moonlit Night City were well versed in. The number of people working together, the consistency of their teamwork, the choice of targets, and so on ultimately reflected the number of enemies that were killed at the same time. It could be said that this was a confrontation of efficiency. The principle was very simple, but the execution was very profound. Moreover, this kind of offensive strategy had extremely high requirements for clerics. Only clerics with exquisite techniques and high tactical attainments could support their own side. Those with rough skills were practically decorations in this kind of strategy. They would only feel as if their own members who were attacked would instantly turn into white light, and they would not be able to find anyone to support at all. It was rare to see such excellent priests. There were many priests on both sides who didn't know what to do and didn't know what to do. The priests couldn't help, so the consumption was even faster. After 2 rounds, the number of people on both sides was greatly reduced. Lan Yi was a magician, so there was no way he would rush to the front lines. Even though Cloud Twilight was charging at him, he was not stupid enough to face it head-on. Cloud Twilight, on the other hand, did not forget the main purpose of this trip. As he fought, he shouted, "Keep an eye on Silver Moon and attack immediately if you have the chance." Cloud Twilight didn't give the order to attack Silvermoon, because he had already seen Silvermoon use King's command. In such an efficient team battle, this kind of enemy should be avoided. They should never take the initiative to attack. Although they had come for the Silvermoon, attacking the Silvermoon now was very likely to lead to the annihilation of the entire army. Cloud Midnight's mind was still very clear. But after he shouted, their opponents were clearly stunned. Lan Yi crazily squeezed out from the back row and shouted, "Stop fucking fighting, we're here to kill Silvermoon too." What? When Yin Zhongmu heard this, he stared blankly for a moment. However, Silvermoon's group had always been treacherous, so he couldn't figure out if this was some kind of trick. Lan Yi was also very fast. He shouted for his comrades to stop. "Everyone stop attacking." They quickly retreated from the front lines and stopped attacking. Yin Zhongmu no longer suspected that there was a trap. He quickly shouted for his own side to stop attacking as well. Only sporadic fighting was left on the battlefield. Both sides were still confused. Yin Zhongmu smacked his forehead. "Fuck, where's Silvermoon?" Everyone came back to their senses and looked around the plaza, but Silvermoon's group was nowhere to be seen. "Fuck, did no one see her?" Yin Zhongmu and Lan Yi roared at the same time. Everyone looked at each other. "Hurry up and look for her." The two of them shouted again. The two of them felt uncomfortable after shouting at the same time twice. They looked at each other with annoyance, which naturally turned into a staring contest. "I can't find her. I don't know where she went. The people who had gone to the surrounding streets reported back. Fuck, we've been tricked by this guy. Lonnie let out a long sigh. Yin Zhongmu wasn't stupid. He immediately understood the crux of the matter. Yin Zhongmu's group naturally thought of Lan Yi as Silvermoon's helper, but when Lan Yi saw Yin Zhongmu, he didn't think that Yin Zhongmu would help Silvermoon. The bad thing was that Silvermoon had shouted, "Brothers kill!" This shout was incomparably sinister. Since it was only one brother, Yin Zhongmu and the others naturally thought that he was calling out to Lan Yi and the others without the slightest hesitation. As for Lan Yi and the others, because of Silvermoon's shout and Yin Zhongmu's aggressive charge, they instantly thought that Silvermoon had already joined forces with Yin Zhongmu and the others. Naturally, they were unable to vent their anger and fiercely counterattacked. Moreover, the sly Silvermoon knew the fighting style of both sides very well. He knew that it would be a quick and efficient battle of attrition. With this kind of fighting style, he would definitely choose to avoid the Silvermoon warriors who had the king's command. However, both sides treated Silvermoon as an enemy, so there was naturally a vacuum around him. Moreover, this kind of fighting style required absolute concentration. In addition, no one expected Silvermoon to escape. As a result, before Yin Zhongmu could react, he had already taken advantage of the chaos and slipped away. Fuck, what the fuck? Yin Zhongmu glared at Lan Yi. Of all the times to kill Silvermoon, you just had to pick a time for us to act. Fuck you, what the fuck are you doing in White Stone City? We've been watching this guy for the whole night. If we don't act now, then when? Lan Yi sneered back. This was the second in command of the previous world. Yin Zhongmu's grudge against him was only slightly less than Silvermoon's and Boundless Mang's. How could he say anything nice right now? Both sides felt that the sudden appearance of the other had ruined the entire plan. The central plaza was filled with hostility, and it looked like they were going to fight again. Boss, hurry up and chase Silvermoon back. Someone was still very calm. Chase what? Who can chase Silvermoon who ran away? The two of them shouted at the same time again. After shouting, they glared at each other. Don't fucking copy me. Yin Zhongmu shouted first. Lan Yi was originally going to say this, but Yin Zhongmu spoke a word too early. He realized that if he spoke again, it would really sound like he was copying, so he hurriedly changed his words. Fuck you. If Silvermoon runs away, then I'll fuck you up. Yin Zhongmu was already prepared to attack. I think you'll be the one to die. Lan Yi didn't back down and waved his hand. At this moment, someone from both sides asked weakly, "Who is this?" These words extinguished the flames of war that were about to erupt. Quite a few people in the two-sided team were newcomers. On Yin Zhongmu's side, their most frequent enemies were the arrogant Boundless Mang and the treacherous villain Silvermoon. This third person, Lan Yi, was directly classified as part of the previous world. As for Lan Yi's side, their grievances were directed at the entire 10-guild alliance. If they really wanted to set up a benchmark, Gu Fei would probably be the first choice. Yin Zhongmu didn't have this kind of status. On the contrary, Silvermoon's act of shirking responsibility when the previous world's guild was in a bad state, and escaping without a trace caused them to be greatly hurt. Whenever they had nothing to do, they would look down on them. They were regarded as the first person responsible for the collapse of the previous world. At this moment, when people from both sides asked who the other party was, Lan Yi and Yin Zhongmu both came to their senses. Who is the other party? After this question circled around in their minds, their burning passion quickly cooled down. The previous world was just like its name, it was already the previous world. Right now, Lan Yi's group was in White Stone City. It could be said that they had nothing to do with Yin Zhongmu's group in Moonlit Night City. On the contrary, the fact that they both wanted to kill Silvermoon made them stand on the same side. Wasn't there a saying that the enemy of my enemy is my friend? When the two of them thought of this, they suddenly turned their heads and spat. What rubbish are you saying? I'm not going to be friends with this guy. Yin Zhongmu looked at Lan Yi with disdain. Lan Yi had the same thought and looked at him with disdain. The hot-bloodedness from Moonlit Night City stirred up again. This kind of disdainful look was enough to cause a PK. The two of them were about to open their mouths again when someone finally asked weakly, Are we really not going to look for Silver Moon? After all, Lonnie had left Moonlit Night City for a long time. His hot-bloodedness had worn off quite a bit in Whitestone City. After hearing this, he calmed down and glared at Yin Zhongmu. I'm not going to play with you anymore. I'm going to take care of Silvermoon first. After saying this, he left with his companions, making arrangements as he walked. Kill him, kill him. Seeing that the other party was about to leave, Zhu Xian became anxious. In the past, he had been bullied by everyone. Not only Silvermoon, but Lonnie had also dealt with him many times. Yin Zhongmu glared at him. What the hell? Let's get down to business first. Fucking Silvermoon is so despicable. She caused so many of our people to die for nothing. At this point, Yin Zhongmu slapped his forehead and hurriedly shouted, Hurry up and spread the news. Those who died just now, don't come back here. Everyone, return to the respawn point, all of them. If Silvermoon wanted to go to the respawn point and log off, he couldn't possibly be faster than these people who died, right? Even if he couldn't catch up and ambush him outside the respawn point, he knew which respawn point he was at. If he left some people to wait for him, there would be a chance to take care of him, right? Yin Zhongmu thought about this and asked the people who died just now if they had all 7 professions. After getting an affirmative answer, he let out a long breath. Brothers, hold on. Yin Zhongmu knew that everyone was very tired after pulling an all-nighter, so he spoke to boost their morale. Inform Moonlit Night City to send more people here. Yin Zhongmu said angrily. Chapter 311. Silvermoon's craftiness and treachery were not just for show. Of course, because he was now an annoying fellow, everyone gave him this forward evaluation. Back when Lan Yi and Silvermoon were still partners, everyone in the guild praised Silvermoon for being smart and resourceful. The collision with Yin Zhongmu triggered Lan Yi's memories of the past. He thought of many of the companions who had fought shoulder to shoulder with him. The encounter with Yin Zhongmu brought back Lan Yi's memories of the past. He thought of many of the partners he had fought with. Although the guild had a bad reputation and everyone was trash, they still had a lot of fun. Big Lan, are you crying? Why are your eyes red? Suddenly, a brother beside him said, Fuck. Was it necessary? Would he cry just thinking about it? Lonnie felt that he was not an emotional person. He quickly wiped his eyes, but there were no tears. He looked at his brothers and scolded. What are you crying for? Don't all of you have red eyes from staying up all night? The brothers looked at each other, and then rubbed their eyes. It had been 2 hours since they usually logged off. Everyone was very tired. Lonnie reminisced and started to talk about his glorious days in Moonlit Night City. The brothers immediately covered their ears. Fuck, you're saying it again? You've said it a few hundred times. That many? Lonnie was unhappy. It's less than that woman you mentioned. That Mang Mang, you've said it at least 1,000 times. Mang Mang cow, don't look at her just because she's a woman. In the past, she was the most loyal and unyielding. Back then. Aha. I'll say it 1,001 times. The brothers broke down. Lonnie did not continue speaking endlessly. He stopped after a few sentences, because a group of people were walking towards them. Like them, their eyes were all red, and they were rubbing their eyes as they walked. It was obvious that they were struggling with the demon of confinement. Fuck, I'm so unlucky. Why do I keep bumping into this guy? Lonnie spat to the side. Yin Zhongmu also saw Lan Yi and immediately gave him the middle finger. Fuck, why aren't you sleeping? Who cares? I'm not sleepy. Lonnie gave him the middle finger. If you can't do it, then admit defeat. Yin Zhongmu opened his eyes wide and brought his brothers to walk past Lan Yi's group. Scared? Have I ever been scared? Lan Yi also widened his eyes. Unfortunately, Yin Zhongmu had already turned his back on him. Lan Yi turned to his brother. Have I ever been scared? No. Everyone said. Once again, it was a coincidence that caused both sides to leave manpower in the 7 resurrection zones. At this time, Lan Yi and Yin Zhongmu were inspecting the 7th Corps' defenses, so it was inevitable that they would bump into each other. Once again, Silvermoon seemed to have seen through the intentions of both sides. After escaping from the central plaza, She didn't rush to the resurrection point. Now no one knew where she was hiding. Actually, he had the insane battle formation skill of King's Command. After buffing the 12 of them, it was relatively easy for them to rush into a resurrection point. However, he had already anticipated that he couldn't even reveal which resurrection point he was at. Otherwise, when he came back online, there would definitely be countless people waiting for him outside the resurrection point. In Silvermoon's mind, the 4,000 members of the 10 Societies Alliance were all his enemies, so he didn't dare to rely on reigning the 4 seas. 700 people were really not enough in front of the 10 Society Alliance. If they were really surrounded by the 10 Society Alliance, then even if they were unstoppable, they wouldn't be able to save them. Therefore, at this time, Silvermoon felt that the safest way was to quietly go to the next main city. However, the problem was that Silvermoon had asked Unsworn Sword and knew that the next main city was Forest Shade City, but he did not know how to get there. He asked some players in Whitestone City, but he was unlucky and did not meet anyone who knew. Silvermoon wanted to go out and try her luck, but when the group of people sneaked out, they broke out in cold sweat. Yin Zhongmu and the others hadn't left this place out, so there were still people left behind. Silvermoon groaned inwardly. At first glance, these people didn't seem to be a match for Silvermoon and the others, but the problem was that they wouldn't fight at all. As long as Yin Zhongmu and the others sensed Silvermoon's movements, they would be fine. One had to know that Silvermoon and the others were either warriors or knights, and there were also 2 priests. All of them were ridiculously slow. As long as the opponent was an archer or a thief, they would follow you as soon as they saw you. You wouldn't be able to shake them off, nor would you be able to catch up to them. Why else would class coordination be so important? Silvermoon was currently in an awkward situation, and was at her wit's end. On the other hand, Yin Zhongmu was also very anxious. Silvermoon had assumed that they were 4,000 strong and didn't dare to rely on unhindered 4 seas. However, she didn't know that Yin Zhongmu was actually very worried about unhindered 4 seas. First of all, they would definitely suffer heavy losses in such a large-scale battle. He didn't know if his brothers would have any objections if they only fought for Silvermoon alone. Second of all, the boss of the game didn't have that much power. With a wave of his arm, a bunch of hotheads would rush forward to be cannon fodder. Did they think the other players were idiots? At this moment, Yin Zhongmu's plan was to gather as many as he could. As long as they could form a 1,000-man army that could hold unhindered 4 seas off, it would be up to them to decide whether or not Unhindered was willing to fight for Silvermoon. However, the distance between Moonlit City and Whitestone City was 3 hours. Moreover, it was still early in the morning, the time when the overnight players had logged off. The number of players who were online during the day was the lowest of the day. Not to mention that he and his brothers were tired like dogs after a long day. When would they be able to gather a 1,000-man army that would put pressure on Unhindered 4 seas? It was a huge problem. Silvermoon wouldn't be calling for help from Unhindered 4 seas, would she? Yin Zhongmu sat in a tavern in Whitestone City, deep in thought. Beside him, his brothers had already fallen asleep on the table. Sleepiness was the most frightening enemy right now. Everyone decided to take turns to take naps in order to fight against it. Yin Zhongmu ordered a glass of wine that he hated the most. He would take a sip every now and then to stimulate his nerves and help his brothers keep watch. This was a game, not a classroom. What if someone killed him while he was sleeping on the table? No one in Moonlit City would dare to do such a thing. But alcohol didn't have the ability to stimulate one's senses. Yin Zhongmu had overexerted himself, and the alcohol had gotten to his head. He hurriedly pushed one of his brothers. "Damn it, get up. It's my turn to lie down for a bit." The man stared blankly for a moment, then cursed. "Damn it, it's only been half an hour. Didn't you say it was an hour? Wake me up in half an hour." Just as Yin Zhongmu was about to lie down, there was a creak. The door to the tavern was pushed open. Yin Zhongmu raised his head vigilantly, and when he saw who it was, he was startled. "It's you." Who else could it be other than the Han family young master, who had gone straight to the tavern so early in the morning? The Han family young master glanced at Yin Zhongmu as soon as he entered the tavern, then glanced at the guys lying on the table. He asked the tavern owner for a glass of wine, and sat down at Yin Zhongmu's table. What are you guys doing? Chasing after Silver Moon. We've been busy all night. Yin Zhongmu sighed. You didn't succeed? The Han family young master asked. Yin Zhongmu nodded regretfully. There was a small hiccup and she got away. Oh. What happened? The wine was delivered, and the Han family young master drank a glass before asking. Although he didn't like the Han family young master, he wasn't an enemy like Silver Moon. When the other asked, Yin Zhongmu gave a simple explanation of the situation. Oh, what are you going to do? The Han family young master asked. And so Yin Zhongmu gave a simple explanation. Are you going to start a war with reigning the four seas? The Han family young master said. If they don't back down, Yin Zhongmu said. They'll definitely back down. The Han family young master said. Oh, but these guys spent a lot of money to hire all of the best mercenary groups in Cloud City. That's what they're trying to do. The Han family young master said. So we'll definitely have to fight when the time comes? Yin Zhongmu said. The Han family young master shook his head. It's a 1,000-man team. Only your 10-guild alliance has more than that, and now we're going to fight them. TSK, reigning the four seas luck really isn't fake. Yin Zhongmu wanted to ask what was going on, but the door was pushed open again. Someone's voice rang out. Lie down in the tavern for a bit. Everyone will take turns to rest. When Yin Zhongmu heard this voice, he suddenly stood up and cursed. Lan Yi, are you fucking crazy? You follow me wherever I go. Lan Yi was surprised to see Yin Zhongmu again, and immediately retorted. Why do you follow me wherever I go? You fucking bastard. What did you say? Yin Zhongmu slammed the table. Just as Lan Yi was about to explode, young Master Han, who had his back to him, slowly turned around. Lan Yi immediately froze. Fuck you. Although it had been a long time, the Han family young master's face was still unforgettable. Lan Yi immediately recognized that this was the guy who tricked them into splitting up their forces, giving the 10-guild alliance an opportunity. If it wasn't for this person, he might still be burning with passion in Moonlit Night City. Kill this guy. Lan Yi pointed at the Han family young master with one hand while his other hand reached for his magic staff. The brothers behind him also took out their weapons. In a flash, Yin Zhongmu had already rushed in front of the Han family young master. He stared at him. What do you want? Although he didn't like the Han family young master, he was still a friend of a friend. Yin Zhongmu couldn't just watch as Lan Yi bullied him. He fearlessly charged forward while calling out to his brothers. When he turned around and saw that everyone was still sleeping at the table, Yin Zhongmu was furious. He went up and kicked over a table. You're still fucking sleeping? Get up and fight. What? The group of people all got up, wiping their saliva as they took out their weapons. Their gazes quickly searched the tavern as they muttered. Where are they? Their gazes swept past Lan Yi's group, but they didn't stop. Where the fuck are you looking for? That's not it. Yin Zhongmu pointed at Lan Yi's group. Fuck. The group of people waved their hands. Stop messing around, okay? Everyone thought that Yin Zhongmu and Lan Yi were bickering again, and that they were going to fight. If they really wanted to fight, would they wait until now? Fuck. Yin Zhongmu saw that his brothers were going to lie on the table again, and was furious. He didn't know how to explain himself. On the other hand, the Han family young master calmly said, What? Aren't you guys working together to deal with Silver Moon? Chapter 312. After hearing the Han family young master's words, Yin Zhongmu and Lan Yi's bodies emitted a disdainful light. They tried their best to put on a disdainful expression as they looked at each other with disdain. If we bump into Silver Moon, which one of you will do it? Han family young master looked at the two. Nonsense, of course it's me. I'm not far. I came from Moonlit Night City in 3 hours. Do you think it's easy? Yin Zhongmu said. So you know this isn't Moonlit Night City? If you know what's good for you, then be quiet. We'll kill Silver Moon first. Lan Yi said. Ha. To be honest, I really don't want to be honest. Don't think that Silver Moon only has 12 people. Brother. Yin Zhongmu heavily patted the Han family young master's shoulder. They all came from Cloud City. There are around 1,000 of them. May I ask, how many people do you have? Why do you care how many people I have? Although Lonnie said this, he was quite depressed. He had noticed Silvermoon as soon as she arrived at Whitestone City. Of course, he knew that Silvermoon wasn't alone. Of course, he didn't have the backing of Yin Zhongmu's 4,000 people. Those brothers from last night were pretty much his limit. After losing the opportunity last night, it would be quite difficult for them to kill Silvermoon with just their strength alone. However, players from Moonlit Night City would rather lose their lives than lose their face. At this moment, they obviously wouldn't be soft-spoken and continued to argue with Yin Zhongmu. The brothers behind him finally couldn't stand it anymore. They all found a seat and said to Lon Yi, "Big Lon, you do what you need to do. We'll sleep first." After saying this, they all laid down and went to sleep. "Fuck, what are you sleeping for? Get up and fight." Lon Yi went over to grab them. "Aya, stop messing around. I'm so tired. You two can argue for a bit. If you're tired, then go to sleep." The brothers here clearly had the same mentality as Yin Zhongmu's brothers. "Fuck," Yin Zhongmu and Lon Yi said at the same time. "I say you two stop arguing," Han family young master said. "Fuck, who do you think you are?" Of course, Lon Yi was hostile towards the Han family young master. Seeing that the Han family young master wanted to be the peacemaker, he scolded him first. Lon Yi's reason for being hostile towards the Han family young master was very good. So the Han family young master wasn't angry. He calmly said, "What I mean is you two go out and fight. I have a brilliant idea here. If you refuse to cooperate no matter what, then I can only offer it to one side." Cloud Twilight didn't even think about it and immediately laughed. "Brother Han, is there anything else to say? Of course it's me. I'm not going to fight with that brat. He's the boss now. In front of so many brothers, I should give him some face. What's your plan? Tell me now." This was actually quite objective. Cloud Twilight was a thief, while Lon Yi was a mage. In a 1v1, a mage would have a hard time dealing with a thief. However, how could Lon Yi be willing to back down now? He gave Yin Zhongmu a look of disdain and said, "Don't tell me you're scared?" Cloud Twilight turned around and looked at him. "Grandson, I gave you face but you don't want it. Do you really want me to take care of you? It's not certain who will take care of who. Don't be so fucking stubborn. I pity you and want to leave you some levels. Once we've killed enough Silvermoon, you can go pick up some trash. You're the one who wants to leave your levels, right? What? You've been a boss for so long that you've started to treasure yourself? Don't tell me you're going to run away at the next silver moon. Fuck you. Die." Cloud Twilight seemed to have received the greatest insult in the world. His eyes, which were already red from staying up late, looked like they were about to bleed. He pulled out his dagger and rushed towards Lon Yi with quick movement. Scolding was scolding, but when it came to fighting, the players of Moonlit Night City weren't careless. Lon Yi didn't dare to challenge a thief like Cloud Morning just because he was stubborn. He still had some confidence in himself. As soon as he saw Yin Zhongmu charging towards him, he stretched out his hand and muttered something. With a pa-la sound, Cloud Zhongmu, together with a chair, fell onto the ground. Yin Zhongmu was still at a loss, but Lon Yi didn't let go of this opportunity. He waved his staff and chanted. A bolt of lightning struck Cloud Zhongmu's head. It was the first skill of a lightning mage, lightning spell. Lon Yi unexpectedly didn't take the normal path like Gu Fei. He chose the lightning path, which was rarely chosen by mages. His lightning couldn't compare to Gu Fei's, but Cloud Twilight didn't suffer much. He quickly climbed up from the ground and continued to rush forward. However, the fall had interrupted his stealth, so he couldn't use it on cooldown yet. Cloud Twilight's speed was reduced. Lon Yi made full use of the structure of the room. He circled around the tables and stools, and as soon as the cooldown was over, he would use lightning. Spells like Fireball and Chain Fireball were slower than lightning, so he didn't use them at all. Cloud Twilight was on fire. Circling around the tables like this, he had an advantage in agility, but he couldn't use his maximum speed. He couldn't catch up to Lon Yi for a long time. When this lightning struck his body, It would numb him. He definitely couldn't continue like this. Cloud Twilight didn't chase foolishly anymore. He began to kick away the stools and tables. As he chased, he prepared to clear out a large area so that Lonnie couldn't escape. It was a quiet time in the game. Apart from the two groups and the Han family young master, there was no one else in the tavern. Lonnie flew around freely. Cloud Twilight chased after him. He was struck by lightning while working as a porter. He didn't give up. Son of a bitch, his magic defense isn't low. He's still quite energetic after taking so many hits, Lonnie said as he continued to run around. He had already cast lightning 4 times on Cloud Twilight. Don't worry, it's enough to catch up to you. You'll regret not having 2 more legs. Cloud Twilight was full of confidence. Just like that, the fight in the tavern became a bit more lively. The Han family young master was happy to see it, but the brothers on both sides who were sleeping on the tables were woken up. They looked at the scene in front of them with sleepy eyes. After a moment of shock, they all jumped up and took out their weapons. Fuck, they're really going to fight. Apart from that, someone said unhappily, if they want to fight, they should have fought earlier. Why did they pick now? I'm so tired. That's right, that's right. There were actually quite a few people who agreed. They were all talking and yawning at the same time. The brothers on both sides stared at each other. The Han family young master had already taken his wine bottle and cup to the corner to make room for them. However, the two sides still hadn't started fighting. Everyone had probably experienced this before. When you really needed sleep, nothing would be able to arouse your interest, especially when you were in the middle of a good sleep. At this moment, you would only have one wish: to quickly deal with what needed to be dealt with, and then go back to sleep. At this moment, there was only one way to quickly deal with the situation in front of them. The players on both sides acted at the same time. Lan Yi's brothers grabbed onto Lan Yi, while Cloud Twilight's comrades grabbed onto Cloud Twilight. Stop fighting, stop fighting. What's there to fight about? If you have the energy, why don't you just sleep for a bit? Both sides grabbed onto their own leaders and returned to their seats. Let me go, Cloud Twilight roared. Let me kill him. Kill me? How much HP do you have? I'll kill you with a lightning strike, Lonnie said as he raised his hand to cast another lightning spell. In the end, his mouth was gagged by his own people, and he couldn't say another word. On the other side, Cloud Twilight's treatment was similar. He was forcefully pulled back by his brothers and pressed onto a bench. Go to sleep. Stop messing around. Save your energy for Silver Moon. The players from Moonlit Night City didn't go up to help during the PK. Instead, they were trying to stop the fight. Such a strange scene had finally happened in a situation where sleep was urgently needed. The temptation of sleep was too great. Otherwise, why would humans spend a third of their time sleeping? After pulling Cloud Twilight back, 2 warriors were afraid that he would run again. They each grabbed one of his arms and used it as a pillow. They laid it on the table and fell asleep. Cloud Twilight didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He struggled with all his might. Damn, let me go. The 2 of them snored like thunder. Damn you, I'm not going up to fight anymore. All right. Cloud Twilight's arm was quietly released. He helplessly pulled it back and looked at Lan Yi. Lan Yi's situation was similar to his. He only let go of his brother after making the same promise. The 2 of them glared at each other, then looked at their brother with disdain. Damn, a bunch of good-for-nothings. Cloud Twilight cursed. Sleep, sleep, sleep to death, Lonnie said. At this moment, the Han family young master floated over with a glass of wine. You two, since you can't get a result, let's make it simpler. Rock, paper, scissors? Do you dare? Cloud Twilight said with disdain. Are you stupid? Why wouldn't I dare? Lonnie got up and walked over, but he was grabbed by his brother. Let go. Didn't you hear me? Rock, paper, scissors. Lonnie cursed and was released. The 2 of them walked to the center of the tavern and looked at each other with disdain. Grandson, don't take advantage of your low agility to attack slowly, Cloud Twilight said. Don't attack too quickly. If you lose, you'll blame me for being slow and not admitting defeat, Lonnie said. Motherfucker, do you think you're in the right if you win? Cloud Twilight said. Are you an idiot? I'm a mage. Do you think I'm faster than you? You better fucking slow down. Don't say I'm cheating later. Lonnie cursed. How fucking fast can you attack? Tell me first. Cloud Twilight said. You two. The Han family young master couldn't take these two anymore. How about this? Don't attack. Each of you find a piece of paper and write it down. I'll read it for you, okay? Then it's settled. The two of them took a piece of paper and wrote it down. When they finished, they carefully handed it over to the Han family young master. The Han family young master didn't hesitate and flipped it over to show them. Ha ha ha. Cloud Twilight laughed. One cut and it's gone. I'll castrate you. Cloud Twilight wrote scissors, while Lonnie wrote paper. The victor was decided. Lonnie's luck wasn't good. He didn't say anything else and retreated. Han family brothers, what's your plan? Tell me. Cloud Twilight was in a good mood. He spoke to the Han family young master much more warmly. He continued to look at Lonnie with disdain and provocative eyes. Chapter 313. The quarrel between the two finally came to an end with a rock-paper-scissors game. Although it was just a child's game, Lonnie still had the integrity to admit defeat. He sat back down and didn't say anything, letting the anger in his heart burn him. Han brothers, what's the plan? Hurry up and tell us. Yin Zhongmu urged the Han family young master. It's like this. It's not worth it to make such a big scene just for a petty person like Silvermoon. So many of us are fighting to the death for a guy like him. It's too displeasing. The Han family young master said. Indeed. Do you have any good ideas? Yin Zhongmu nodded and asked. Like this. You take some people to guard the Knights' camp in Whitestone City. Our child elite group will be responsible for sending Silvermoon back to you tonight. Han family young master said. Isn't this inappropriate? Yin Zhongmu was startled. He wasn't doubting the ability of the child elite group, but the situation they were in. They were teammates on a quest together. If they attacked Silvermoon during the quest, how would the 1,000 players view them? Did this guy not know the seriousness of this matter? Haha. Han family young master knew what he was thinking and said indifferently, Don't worry, we'll do it secretly. Will it work? This time Yin Zhongmu was a little doubtful of their ability. With Silvermoon's cunning, he would definitely be on guard against his enemies. They all wanted to get the black brick at any time, let alone someone like Silvermoon who was good at using black bricks. Making a move in secret was easy to say, but would Silvermoon give them the chance? You don't need to worry about this. If you trust us, then we'll have to trouble you. Han family young master said. Break. Trouble? Yin Zhongmu didn't understand. Big brother, we're a mercenary group. Don't tell me you don't know the rules. Han family young master looked at him helplessly. Fuck. Yin Zhongmu suddenly stood up. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't know the rules, but he didn't think Han family young master would talk about it. In his mind, it was necessary for friends to help each other. Talking about money was really an insult to their friendship. For a straightforward and heroic man like him, he would definitely regard money as dirt and place friendship as the most important thing. The little bit of goodwill he had for the Han family young master had already vanished like smoke in thin air. Yin Zhongmu looked at the smiling face in front of him, and only felt that it was extremely disdainful. Sure enough, I didn't see wrongly. This person is too loathsome, definitely not someone of my generation. Cloud Twilight thought to himself. But for the sake of our friendship, we won't charge you a high price, said the Han family young master. No need. Yin Zhongmu's expression was grave and stern. Since this is business, let's not talk about friendship. How much should it be? Boss Yun is a straightforward person. Han family young master drank the wine and stood up. After the job is done, you will receive my quotation. Don't you need a deposit? This is against the rules, isn't it? Yin Zhongmu said calmly. An employer who took the initiative to offer a deposit was definitely an anomaly. These words were full of Cloud Twilight's deep mockery. There's no need for that. Boss Yun's character is somewhat reliable, said the Han family young master. Somewhat reliable. Yin Zhongmu clenched his fist. The Han family young master smiled. Everyone, there's nothing else. Wash up and go to sleep. I'll be leaving first. The young master of the Han family bought a few more bottles of wine to take away and proudly prepared to leave. Before he left, he looked at Lan Yi and asked, "That skill of yours, it's something like teleportation, right?" Lan Yi was startled and didn't reply. The Han family young master had already left. However, Yin Zhongmu glared at him. "Brat, did you cheat just now?" "Bullshit, it's all a skill in the game. You lost and you don't want to admit it?" Lan Yi scolded back. "Who lost? Who the fuck lost?" Yin Zhongmu roared. "If you don't accept it, come again." The scolding started again, and the tavern never had a peaceful day. After the Han family young master came out, he didn't think about this matter anymore. This plan didn't require any special arrangements. At this time, it didn't matter if Yin Zhongmu and the others continued to find Silvermoon and ravage her, or if they just let her be and waited outside the knight's encampment at night. It didn't really affect what the Han family young master wanted to do. After 6 p.m., the players of Cloud City came online one after another and gathered at the north gate of Whitestone City. A long snaking line was also moving from the direction of the dungeon. It was Todd, who had just been rescued from the dungeon by Reigning Four Seas, and they were heading over. At the front of the line, the guild leader of Unsworn Sword, who had personally escorted Todd, was in high spirits. They had already passed through 2 main cities and completed 2/5 of the quest. It seemed like they hadn't run into any big trouble yet. The casualties were basically negligible. The biggest losses were from those who didn't dare to follow when they first crossed the ravine. The 6 members of the child elite group were among the mercenary players, carefully searching for something. They looked around, but all they did was shake their heads. "Did you see Silvermoon?" they asked each other in the channel. The answers were all negative. Everyone had already heard from the Han family young master that they had taken on the quest to help Yin Zhongmu send Silvermoon back to Whitestone City. They were all very happy to take on this task. With Gu Fei's powerful firepower and the exquisite coordination of the others, it would only take a few seconds to publicly kill Silvermoon. It was guaranteed that even the gods wouldn't be able to save her. However, due to the pressure of public opinion, they had to be careful. When they asked their young master what his plan was, the answer they received was 4 words: "Play it by ear." Now that the opportunity hadn't come yet, they couldn't even find Silvermoon. "Don't worry, he's definitely in the crowd. If he doesn't take this opportunity to leave Whitestone City, then he really doesn't want to live anymore," Han family young master said with certainty. Silvermoon was indeed in the midst of Reigning Four Seas team. It had been a tough day for him. He had stayed up from morning until now, drifting around the city. The slightest movement would cause him to break out in cold sweat. He stayed up all the way until night time, when he and a few of his brothers quietly made their way to the dungeon. Just as he expected, Reigning the Four Seas members had gathered here. After Silvermoon and Sworn Sword greeted each other, she blended into their group and traveled together. Silvermoon didn't reveal his current situation to Unsworn Sword, because he understood very well that his relationship with Unsworn Sword was still shallow. Unsworn Sword definitely wouldn't think that Silvermoon was more important than the interests of Reigning Four Seas. If Silvermoon's opponents were just a few petty thieves, Unsworn Sword would definitely rely on his numbers to help him. However, if he knew that his opponents were the 10 Meetings Alliance, then he definitely wouldn't hesitate to throw Silvermoon out like a hot potato. Silvermoon's current thoughts were to quietly sneak out of Reigning Four Seas crowd. After all, it was very difficult to find a specific person among a few hundred people. He was afraid that the people from the 10 Meetings Alliance would go all out. In order to deal with him, Silvermoon would not hesitate to challenge the thousands of people in Cloud City. The men of the 10 Meetings Alliance definitely had this kind of bearing, so Silvermoon was very worried. Once the 10 Meetings Alliance challenged him, this fight probably wouldn't happen, and Unsworn Sword would definitely happily sell him out. So at this time, Silvermoon had a backup plan. First, he would follow the crowd. Once he found a large group of people coming out to challenge him, he would immediately shout "Brothers!" and then take advantage of the chaos to slip away. So when he approached the city gate, Silvermoon became more and more nervous and kept looking around. However, other than the group of people from Cloud City waiting for them at the city gate, there was no sign of any other large group. Until he followed the group out of the gate and left the city for a long time. The people that Silvermoon thought would definitely appear did not show up. Just like that. Silvermoon was very surprised. In order to kill him, Yun Zhongwu deliberately chased him all the way to Whitestone City. He didn't believe that the other party would let him go so easily. But where were they at this time? Even if they didn't show up in public, they were probably secretly watching his movements, right? Thinking of this, Silvermoon hid in the crowd, bowed his head and tried to pretend to disappear. However, this wasn't a long-term solution. He had to think of a way to confirm if there were any annoying people following him. Although he hadn't slept for a long time, Silvermoon's mind was still sharp. He had originally wanted to ask one of his brothers to pretend to be behind the group and go to a nearby leveling area to observe if there were any pursuers. However, if the other party was a thief in stealth, he wouldn't be able to detect them even if they were right next to him. However, this wasn't a problem for the cunning, or rather, quick-witted Silvermoon. After thinking for a while, he immediately looked for Unhindered the Four Seas leader, Unsworn Sword. Unsworn, it seems like someone is secretly following us. Silvermoon said very seriously. Oh, who is it? How do you know? Unsworn Sword hurriedly asked. One of my brothers. Silvermoon began to make up a story. Something urgent happened, so I can't play anymore. Just now, on the way back to the city, I saw someone asking players who were passing by the leveling area where we were going. Then they came running in our direction. Silvermoon said. Is that so? Then where are they now? Unsworn Sword asked. I don't know. That brother of mine had something urgent to do. After telling me, he didn't follow to see what happened and hurriedly returned to the city. Silvermoon said regretfully. It definitely isn't anything good. Unsworn Sword said, hurriedly summoning the core leaders, Reflection Years and Feng Xing. When Reflection Years heard this, he immediately asked, Are you sure it's players and not NPCs? NPC. There's no need for NPCs to ask players about us, right? Silvermoon said. Players. Why are players following us? Reflection Years also began to ponder. Maybe they saw so many of us gathered together and are curious about what we want to do? Feng Xing guessed. It's best if we find these people and ask them. Silvermoon said. Yes. Don't let the news leak. Let's continue moving forward. I'll make some arrangements. Reflection Years said. Let's do that. Thank you, Brother Silvermoon. Unsworn Sword patted Silvermoon. You're welcome. We're here to help. Silvermoon rubbed his red eyes and smiled. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.